Chapter 1101, 1101 The Worst Demigod in History, 1. 1101 The Worst Demigod in History, 1. A week later, the autumn wind blew. 11 stood on the golden ground and looked at the fallen demon god iron-eating beast opposite it. It let out a sixth triumphant roar. It, the Panda King, was invincible. In the blink of an eye, a week passed. Emperor Wu's heart ached even more. Under Baby Ginseng's healing, his pet and Shi Yu's pet started a week of high-intensity sparring special training. The cruel truth was that in a one-on-one battle, Panda King 11, Green Dragon Buggy, Baby Ginseng Emperor, Sword Maiden Kai Tong, Star Sea Sprite Susu, and the ultimate mechanical Ling were almost impossible to defeat. Every pet of Emperor Wu couldn't defeat these 6 pets in a one-on-one situation. Only Little G, the overlord who could bully the land, and Ducky, the overlord of the ocean, found a chance of winning here. In a week, Shi Yu had already copied the fusion technique into his hand. Shi Yu had already obtained the EXP for Emperor Wu's top-notch fusion talent development. He even packed a lot of evolution materials and countless items of the faith of the 4 holy beasts. In exchange, Susu used a portion of the demigod-level cleansing power to help Emperor Wu and the others remove the remaining incurable injuries in their bodies. At the same time, Shi Yu provided the World Tree Fruit, allowing Emperor Wu to develop his top-notch fusion talent faster. The current Emperor Wu could already fuse 8 pets at the same time. It was already very close to the peak stage of the fusion of 9 pets. At that moment, Ling had also completed the positioning device and restriction arms. Shi Yu and Emperor Wu were discussing the final overall attack. Yunnan should still be healing his injuries now. It's just nice to launch a pounce on it. At that time, my Ginseng baby will carry out the first round of attack. Buggy, Ling, you're in charge of restricting Yunnan's escape and self-destruction and maintaining the restriction domain. Then, Senior Emperor Wu, you guys launch an all-out attack. The target is Yunnan. 11, Kai Tong, and I are in charge of dealing with its generals and subsequent support. This is the most ideal situation. If an accident happens, it will change according to the various directions analyzed by Ling. That's the arrangement. Emperor Wu nodded and looked at Shi Yu seriously. I hope everything can go smoothly. I look forward to a real battle with you after defeating Yunnan. Emperor Wu referred to the real battle where the beast tamers of both parties also participated in the battle and all their pets fought. He admitted that he had lost in a one-on-one battle between pets. However, if it was a full-strength battle, Emperor Wu believed that he definitely wouldn't lose. After all, 9 combined into 1 was enough to suppress demigods. All right, Shi Yu said with a smile. At that time, a fusion martial artist vs a fusion mecha. Your Majesty Emperor Wu, Shi Yu. As the overall attack approached, the iron-eating beast core defense of the border was even stricter. As a messenger, Ji Mengzhu reported to them. Everything is ready. All right, half a day later, at sunrise, we'll officially launch an all-out attack. Emperor Wu said. You have to return successfully. Ji Mengzhu didn't sleep well this week. She had been worried that the 2 of them would launch an all-out attack today. In a complete battle with Yunnan, although he felt that his side had a huge advantage, the opponent wasn't weak either. There's no need to worry too much. Victory belongs to us, Shi Yu said very confidently, as if he had seen through Ji Mengzhu's worried heart. In history, Emperor Wu alone could shatter Yunnan. Now that he had his support and was so well prepared, if the 2 of them couldn't shatter Yunnan, they could directly retire on the spot. As Shi Yu and Emperor Wu set off, at the border of Donghuang, the fully armed iron-eating beast army looked into the distance. General Ji Yun stood on the high platform, waiting for the good news from the 2 of them. At the same time, through his telepathy, Shi Yu pulled up a telepathy chat room for all his pets, Emperor Wu, and all his pets. At this moment, Emperor Wu already knew that Shi Yu had a telepathy talent. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so confident that the winner of the team battle with a beast tamer would definitely be him. However, it was also a pity that an expert like Shi Yu only had a telepathy talent. In the void, Shi Yu rode the green dragon with a compass-like tool in his hand. The ethereal time monkey of Emperor Wu's fusion time and space attributes flew in the air. Everyone was using the telepathy chat room to talk. Shiyu, the location of Yunnan has been confirmed. The other party should be hiding in a hidden mystic realm in the Yun nation. Shiyu, Senior Emperor Wu, how high can you fly to? Do you want to compete? Emperor Wu, don't underestimate me. Ethereal time monkey, Yunnan is really unlucky to have encountered you. Emperor Wu's pets trembled. They knew very well how disgusting Shiyu's next plan was. Boom boom boom. As Shiyu smiled, in the void, the green dragon buggy adjusted its direction and headed straight for the starry sky. Emperor Wu also flew higher and higher. Unfortunately, technology had yet to develop in this era. Otherwise, there would definitely be a country that could see a flash of green light suddenly arrive at the starry sky from the direction of the blue planet. However, this was not Shiyu and Emperor Wu. Only two pets arrived in the starry sky. To be precise, it was a pet and a phantom clone. Buggy Phantom and Baby Ginseng. After riding the phantom of the green dragon buggy to the starry sky, Baby Ginseng absorbed the power of the sun and moon to its heart's content. Baby Ginseng, command, command, this is the Bombardment G team. Baby Ginseng, we have arrived at the starry sky. All the bombs are ready. Wait for the command, over. Chapter 1102, 1102 The Worst Demigod in History, 2. 1102 The Worst Demigod in History, 2. Shiyu, take root in the sun, moon, and meteorite and prepare to attack. Over. Baby Ginseng, Roger. Swoosh! In Baby Ginseng's vision, a light spot approached and streaked across a huge super meteorite that contained the power of the sun and moon. Under the teleportation of Buggy's phantom, Baby Ginseng instantly arrived on it and descended from the starry sky. Its target was the mystic realm where Yunnan lived. Emperor Wu members, terrifying. At this moment, in a hidden legendary mystic realm of the Yun nation, Yunnan was still recuperating. The injuries it suffered were far more serious than Emperor Wu. Most importantly, Susu's attack was too painful. It was so painful that it wanted to die. At this moment, Yunnan had already sent his subordinates to find out Susu's identity. It was suspected to be the strongest ocean demigod, the Blue Sea Sprite. Damn it! Yunnan cursed. Be it 3,000 years ago or now, its gaze was only on the east. Who would have thought that the strongest demigod in the ocean would actually appear at this moment? Moreover, he had become the pet of a human beast tamer. Shiyu, in addition to Emperor Wu, Yunnan felt that his plan to unify the East might be delayed again. At this moment, Yunnan even had the thought of going to the Western continent. The competition in the East was too cruel. Why not become a Western overlord? However, it wasn't convinced. It smells so tempting. Yunnan, who was lying in the meteorite pile and bathing in the darkness, suddenly opened its huge eyes. The gains this time are not bad. It grunted and sensed the outside world of the mystic realm. In order to heal its injuries, it sent many subordinates to other totem countries to find resources to recover its restoration. This time, when he smelled the fragrance, Yunnan subconsciously thought that his subordinate had brought back supplements. The tempting resources weren't around either. Instead, they seemed to be high in the sky. Yunnan's perception went infinitely upwards. A meteorite that contained the power of the sun and moon was descending from the starry sky. Yunnan was first stunned, then it realized that something was wrong. It suddenly widened its eyes. There was also a tree on the huge asteroid-like meteorite. It was a towering divine tree more than 10 meters tall. Fruits filled with tempting fragrance swayed on the tree. A huge cream-colored trunk, emerald green leaves, moonlight golden branches, sunlight fiery red flowers, fruits that looked like ginseng babies, decorated this complete divine tree. Countless ginseng baby clones pulled at the branch with tears in their eyes, afraid that they would be thrown down. Countless sun divine trees grew on this meteorite, making it like a falling sun, the afterglow of the setting sun. Strange, too strange. Yunnan felt that it was too strange. However, the tempting aura emitted by the meteorite and the world ginseng couldn't help but move even Yunnan, an elemental life form. I want to eat it so much. It was this hesitation that Shiyu and the others' greeting gifts had already arrived. Baby ginseng first raised the time fruit to the little divine skill through the world kindness. Then, it used it on its own, allowing its life level to temporarily reach the totem level. Then, it transformed into the life fire seed and burned the potential and life brought by the plant control and the greenwood divine body. It instantly obtained battle power close to the demigod level. Moreover, at the last moment, it triggered moon explosion and displayed an attack that would shock even a demigod. In the mystic realm, Yunnan originally thought that it was hidden well. Even if it was also at the demigod level, it was impossible to find it. However, looking at the meteorite falling from the sky, flames slowly burned in its eyes. Its natural instinct to sense danger suddenly made its entire body tense. Bang! 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 The heart core beat crazily. Attack! At this moment, Yunnan finally realized that it wasn't to have something fall into its lap at all. Its pupils constricted. That was a trap, an attack from the enemy. Moreover, its power caused an alarm in its body through a legendary space. Baby ginseng successfully arrived at the designated spatial coordinates. The bombardment G team is about to use EG Surefire Kill. Over. Boom. Contract system, Baby ginseng has gone offline. A shocking light of the sun and moon bloomed in midair. The impact of the explosion instantly shattered the spatial barrier where Yunnan was. The terrifying light devoured the extremely shocked Yunnan inside. Yunnan seemed to see a strong light. The feeling it gave was even more dazzling than a million suns and moons. At the same time, light blasted in all directions. This was the most powerful self-destruction used by Baby ginseng. It was rooted in Buggy's Sun-Moon-Dragon star to absorb nutrients. The self-destruction of the full buff was comparable to the full-strength attack of a demigod. In a short moment, a huge light fireball more than 10,000 meters tall rose into the sky. An energy wave swallowed the ground, and strong light and wind mercilessly destroyed everything in the Yun nation. This radiation land that had been occupied by Yunnan and was no longer alive instantly suffered an even more tragic blow. In almost a few seconds, 1/3 of the country was instantly moved to nothingness. Countless tall mountains were erased, countless lakes evaporated, and everything disappeared. At the border of Donghuang, the iron-eating beast core guarding here immediately felt a strong earthquake. After hearing the huge sound, they didn't even dare to look at the strong light in the distance. It's starting! General Ji Yun and the others' hearts skipped a beat. They understood that the two parties had already started fighting. Chapter 1103, 1103 The Worst Demigod in History, 3. 1103 The Worst Demigod in History, 3. Tingxiang, Snowfield, Seven Islands, Rongguang, Minghua, and experts from all over the world sensed the weak atmospheric disturbance in the sky with this attack. They looked at the sky and the chaotic east. It really didn't stop. Emperor Wu members, monster. Looking at Baby ginseng, who had launched the first round of attacks, the corners of Zhongxian, the divine tree of life, and the others, who had sparred with Baby ginseng in the mystic realm, twitched. Was this the suicide self-destruction attack Shiyu mentioned in the first round? When they heard Shiyu say that, they thought that Shiyu was crazy. Until Shiyu said that his ginseng baby had mastered the time element revival skill. Now, Emperor Wu and the others had finally seen the supreme art Shiyu mentioned. Even Emperor Wu couldn't help but feel extremely solemn. It was really a monster. Previously, they had completely underestimated the power of this attack. The power of this attack was enough to destroy smaller totem countries. Even Emperor Wu felt that he would be heavily injured by this attack in his full state. This was still the result of the power of this attack being too scattered. Baby ginseng's moon explosion had this disadvantage. The explosive power was too scattered. Even if it was close to transcendent proficiency, its strength was still scattered. This was also why it had to run into the enemy's mouth if it wanted to maximize the effect of its self-destruction. If its strength could completely concentrate in a small range, Shiyu felt that there was no need for others to attack at all. Baby ginseng could shatter a demigod itself. Shiyu hoped that after Moon Explosion reached Transcendent, this point could be improved. He also hoped that after the time mark reached Transcendent, there would be greater changes. For example, he could revive twice in a row, or he could give others the time mark. The greatest characteristic of the current perfect level time mark was that it no longer needed baby ginseng to condense it itself. After it was consumed, it could automatically spend time to condense it, saving baby ginseng a lot of energy. Roar! A miserable cry that resounded through the sky came from the explosion. Yunnan wasn't directly blown up. Shiyu and the others were not surprised by this. After all, there was a legendary spatial defense. At this moment, in the center of the strong light and high temperature, Yunnan seemed to have turned into a black hole. No matter what power was outside, it was being absorbed by it. Sensing that the wound that had just recovered pretty well had cracked open again, Yunnan let out a miserable cry, pitiful and helpless. At this moment, although Yunnan didn't know what was going on, it only had one thought: escape. However, before it could react, another forbidden arms was thrown down from the deep sky. Ling, Buggy, this is the Green Dragon. The special forbidden arms for Saint's Domain bullet has been fired. Please take note. Yunnan was shocked. There was another boom. A dazzling white light enveloped this area again. However, the forbidden arms this time were not attack-type arms, but domain-type arms. White light kept spreading. Soon, four phantoms 10,000 meters tall appeared in the huge range created by baby ginseng's self-destruction, the phantoms of the four holy beasts. They connected. A huge domain watered by the power of faith and the power of the starry sky enveloped and sealed most of the Yun nation. In the domain, all natural power and spatial power were suppressed. There was even a special power that forcefully restricted the energy flow changes in Yunnan's body. In the sky above the center of the domain, Buggy, which had been strengthened by Ling's transcendent nine-colored divine light, and Ling itself were maintaining the entire domain. They stared at Yunnan together and restricted its movements. Roar! At this moment, Yunnan was extremely angry and panicked. He wanted to break free, but Shiyu and the others' plan was very tight. Just as the power of the center of baby ginseng's self-destruction receded a little, Emperor Wu tore through the void and quickly descended from the sky. Shiyu, Senior Emperor Wu, it's your turn. Remember not to kill Yunnan and make it lose consciousness. Emperor Wu, Roger. Extreme Martial Emperor Fist. Emperor Wu, who was wearing the armor of a ghost beast, had his 8 pets fused into one. The divine tree of life healed the burden of the fusion in the beast-taming space. The moment it descended, it threw a punch that could be said to be the ultimate profundity. The fist wind shook the sky and earth with a majestic aura. Wu Dong! Seeing Emperor Wu appear, how could Yunnan not know what was going on? He instantly roared and cursed. This time, it really panicked, because it felt that its spatial skill was completely restricted. There was no way to escape. Annihilation! Under the restriction and serious injuries, Yunnan could only activate quasi-divine skills. The ultimate profundities of both parties collided again. Boom! A huge wave lingered in the sky again. Space shattered, and laws trembled. The entire Yun nation was broken like the scene of the apocalypse. My king! The Yun nation underwent a huge change. The totems under Yunnan who were searching for resources in the surrounding countries rushed back almost immediately. At this moment, only they dared to come and see what was going on in the Yun nation. The other totem countries didn't need to think to know that a huge battle had occurred between Yunnan and Dong Huang. They didn't have any intention of stepping into the muddy water. Be it the Emperor Wu who expelled them or Yunnan who wanted to incorporate them, they made the surrounding totems extremely afraid and really didn't dare to move. Chapter 1104 11-0 for the worst demigod in history, 4. 11-0 for the worst demigod in history, 4. They only wanted to watch the outcome of such a big boss fight silently. Contract system, Baby Ginseng is online. Shiyu, Yu and Susu will be in charge of assisting next. after Baby Ginseng went online again, Shi Yu glanced at Emperor Wu and Yunnan. Although Yunnan was continuously heavily injured, it was still very fierce. The power of a quasi-divine skill was still extremely strong, far above 11 single-target quasi-divine skill. Most importantly, 11 and the others couldn't use quasi-divine skills a second time after using them once. However, at this moment, be it Yunnan or Emperor Wu, they could use quasi-divine skills as normal skills. Shi Yu looked at them and shook his head. They chose not to interfere in their battle and ran to harvest their resources. Roar! At this moment, the general under Yunnan, the black giant ape, was the first to rush back to the Yun nation. However, Shi Yu definitely wouldn't let it support Yunnan at this moment. Boom! Before the black giant ape could react, a black and white light flashed in front of its eyes. A huge cannonball directly blasted towards it. The black giant ape was caught off guard and was directly pushed out of the Yun nation under the huge impact. Right on the heels of that, 100-meter-tall black and white behemoth wrapped in lightning appeared amidst the lightning. It walked towards it step by step and smashed its huge fist. Roar! 11 roared. Take this. Shi Yu, don't kill it. Leave the last slash to us. Everyone, preserve your strength. With so many totem generals, how many undead scapegoats would there be? 11, sob. Report beast tamers for stealing kills. On the other side, the red-haired and red-eyed Shi Yu stood in the sky and looked at the black battle tiger in front of him calmly. His figure directly flashed and slashed at the huge tiger. At the same time, the huge tiger roared and swung its huge claws, colliding with the sword edge. Shi Yu and the others didn't know how the progress on Emperor Wu's side would be. They didn't dare to use quasi-divine skills to waste their strength when dealing with these totem generals and kept some trump cards. However, even if he didn't use quasi-divine skills, with 11 and the others' foundation, it was more than enough to deal with this group of totems that Yunnan had forcefully raised. The main battlefield was smoother than Shi Yu imagined. Emperor Wu was indeed fierce. The power of every punch was comparable to Shi Yu and 11 using double quasi-divine skills to completely attain the Tao with strength. Moreover, after knowing that Shi Yu Susu could cleanse radiation, Emperor Wu's battle style today was even more reckless. Initially, when Emperor Wu fought Yunnan, he would sometimes still care about the other party's attack and dodge if he could. But today, Yunnan discovered that not only did Emperor Wu not dodge, but he also exchanged injuries every time. Most importantly, Yunnan felt that Emperor Wu's strength had improved again from a week ago. Moreover, it couldn't sense the original incurable injury in Emperor Wu's body. Damn it! With the body fragments that filled the sky being sent flying, Yunnan felt that it was really dangerous this time. Perhaps he would fail. The other party had come prepared. Even the space here was perfectly sealed, making it impossible for it to retreat. Die! In order to quickly suppress Yunnan, Emperor Wu didn't care about his injuries at all. Every time he fought head-on with Yunnan, in a short moment, 1/10 of Yunnan's body had already been smashed. The meteorite fragments all over the ground made Shi Yu, who sensed the main battlefield through Ling, feel his heart ripple. There were hundreds of demon god iron-eating beasts. Shi Yu, Senior Emperor Wu, continue. Its current state is still too good. It's not the best time to use the sea cleansing spirit. All right. Emperor Wu let out a long roar and threw another punch. Boom! The wind of Emperor Wu's fist collided with Yunnan's huge claws. As the huge claws cracked, Yunnan roared angrily. At this moment, Yunnan's mentality had already collapsed slightly. It was suppressed by Emperor Wu the whole time, causing it to be unable to counterattack at all. He couldn't defeat it or escape, causing Yunnan to feel like giving up struggling. It would have been fine if it was just Emperor Wu. It was all because of that human who had appeared for no reason. Yunnan was furious and felt that it was all Shi Yu's fault. If not for Shi Yu's support, a mere Emperor Wu wouldn't have been able to trap him. Roar! At that moment, as he sensed the tragic deaths of his subordinates, Yunnan realized that the situation was over. At this rate, forget about escaping to the west to dominate, it was even a problem if he could leave the Yun nation alive. Wudong, you force me. Sensing that his condition was getting worse and worse, the taut string in Yunan's heart finally snapped, and his gaze was filled with hatred and violence. At most, they would perish together. He was an elemental creature, a demigod-level elemental creature. As long as he had a small core, there was still hope of revival thousands of years later. On the other hand, these humans would all return to dust. Self-destruction. Although it was self-destruction, it could completely retain a core during the self-destruction process and use the power of the self-destruction to break through this domain that suppressed the power of the void. It could throw the core into an alternate space and teleport to an extremely far place to wait for revival. Roar! At the thought of this, Yunnan felt that he couldn't hesitate any longer. Otherwise, in a while, he wouldn't even have the power to self-destruct. Boom! Yunnan underwent the final eruption. The energy in its body rose steadily, and the energy in its body began to expand and fuse into its body. However, in the next moment, it was like a deflated balloon. The energy that had just swelled and wanted to self-destruct was instantly suppressed. Chapter 1105, 1105 The Worst Demigod in History, 5. 1105 The Worst Demigod in History, 5. Yunnan? Ling, Buggy, detected that Yunnan wants to self-destruct. It has already suppressed its energy flow with all its might. In the sky, in the Forbidden for Saints domain, Buggy and Ling's strength increased to the extreme at this moment. In order to block Yunnan's self-destruction, Buggy's veins critical hit. Even with Ling's strengthening, its body still trembled a little. At this moment, even with Ling's ultimate intelligence, the temperature of its entire body suddenly increased. Some of its bodies were overloading, and it was especially difficult to suppress the self-destruction power of the demigods. The many items of faith of the four holy beasts as sacrifices to the array were also consumed crazily like fire. Yi! Ning! On Buggy and Ling, baby Ginseng and Susu had appeared at some point in time and placed their hands on them. One was healing nourishing, and the other was cool down cleansing, assisting Buggy and Ling. Do you think I'll let you self-destruct? Emperor Wu immediately said when he saw Yunnan's stunned appearance. At this moment, Yunnan's expression gradually collapsed. He completely didn't expect that the other party had even calculated his self-destruction and actually had a way to suppress his self-destruction power. Woo 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 woo. As Yunnan roared angrily and collapsed, the last straw that crushed its heart fell. Yunnan could only turn around and erupt with stronger power to attack Emperor Wu. Emperor Wu had been waiting for a long time and fought Yunnan again. In the huge battle, Yunnan's body was constantly broken, and the other was constantly corroded by radiation. Both parties fought desperately. Because his initial state was better than Yunnan, in addition to the fact that a sea cleansing spirit had been carried by Emperor Wu before the battle, his battle intent at this moment was still very clear. On the other hand, Yunnan was heavily injured consecutively, and its mind and consciousness collapsed even more. He had tried to self-destruct many times, but he was suppressed by the Forbidden for Saints domain created by Buggy and Ling. In the sky, the red-haired and red-eyed Shiyu's figure finally appeared after a long time. As the overall commander of this battle, he sensed Yunnan's current mental resistant state and finally issued the final command. Shiyu, Senior Emperor Wu, Susu, now! Boom! As Shiyu gave the order, Emperor Wu erupted with its strongest strength. It threw a punch without caring about the consequences and directly flipped Yunnan's entire body over, making its eyes almost turn white. Its consciousness was extremely blurry, and its spirit trembled. At this moment, as the most important figure, Susu finally left Ling and launched the final attack. A demigod-level sea cleansing spirit. All the remaining strength. A huge figure 10,000 meters tall stretched out its water-blue arm and wrapped Yunnan in the middle with its huge palm. This time, Susu didn't attack or cleanse the radiation. Shiyu naturally had his own reasons for choosing to let it attack last. Shiyu, Susu, cleanse its will and cleanse its heart. As the strongest ocean demigod, cleansing curses and plagues was only the most basic method. Its strongest point was to cleanse one abyss sea demigod after another, turning them from unholy to the guardians of the sea, from bad guys to good people. If it wanted to capture Yunnan alive, this kind of cleansing was indispensable. At the same time, cleansing Yunnan's will into an extremely low resistance could also prevent it from self-destructing again. At that time, its extremely low willpower wouldn't allow it to have the courage to resist and self-destruct again. It was naturally impossible for this sea cleansing spirit to directly cleanse Yunnan at his peak. However, if the opponent was in a situation where his strength was weak, his resistance was blurry, and his state was extremely poor, the success rate would be greatly improved. It was comparable to brainwashing. Zizizizizi. Roar. Giant Susu squeezed Yunnan in its palms. The power of cleansing spread, and Yunnan's miserable cry that shook the sky and earth came from inside. Not far away, Emperor Wu, who was shocked by the aftermath, panted slightly and looked ahead quietly. After about 2 to 3 minutes, Susu separated its palm. Yunnan, who was as huge as a city, fell from the sky. At this moment, the power on its body had already been weakened to the extreme. The energy in its body had almost disappeared and had already been cleansed. Even if it wanted to self-destruct, it didn't have the power to self-destruct. It couldn't pose a threat to a legendary at all. When it fell, its eyes were listless, and it only had a faint consciousness. Roar. I want to be a good person. What the hell? On the other side, Emperor Wu listened to Yunnan's weak begging roar. The corners of his mouth twitched as he looked at the high and mighty blue sea sprite. It really succeeded? The cleansing of the blue sea sprite was too terrifying. Shiyu, battle over, over. Shiyu smiled slightly. At this moment, he was extremely excited. It had really succeeded. The sea cleansing spirit could really cleanse Yunnan's will and heart. This way, when he returned, Yunnan and the undying Dark Phoenix on his side could also do the same. However, at the moment, the most important thing was to ask Yunnan something. This was even more important than renewable resources. After an unknown period of time, Yunnan gradually woke up. Just as he woke up, he felt intense pain in his body. Roar! It let out a heart-wrenching scream. It suddenly realized that its city-like huge body had already been dismantled and broken until it was only about 10 meters tall. Its body was shattered and pitted, and its strength was extremely weak. It was as if it had been stripped naked and helplessly tied up by huge technological chains. Yunnan struggled with all its might, but its current strength didn't allow it to break free. Shiyu, Emperor Wu, and the pets looked at Yunnan in front of them. Shiyu and the others were all right, but Emperor Wu was very silent. He felt that Yunnan was the most miserable demigod. The battle where he killed the Radiance Tiger demigod back then was even more difficult than this. This time, from Yunnan's perspective, he felt that Yunnan's house had been confiscated for no reason. The whole process was really miserable. It was all thanks to Shiyu. Roar! I surrender! At this moment, Yunnan no longer had the domineering aura of the previous king of the Yun race. This was also normal. Its originally not low will level had already been cleansed to the lowest level by Susu. The current Yunnan was completely a weakling. It was one thing if it even had the courage to self-destruct. It looked at Emperor Wu and Shiyu in horror. I'll ask, you answer. Shiyu looked at Yunnan and said, were you sent to Blue Planet by the Abyss race? You're from the Starry Sky, right? At this moment, this question was what Shiyu wanted to know the most. The power of Yunnan came from the same source as the power of the Abyss Sea. It was fine if the Abyss Sea was passed down to the mythical era, but Yunnan descended on Blue Planet 10,000 years ago. It was very difficult not to suspect that it was an advanced team sent to Blue Planet by the Abyss Evil God race in advance. If there were no Emperor Wu in the East at that time and it let Yunnan develop, it was completely capable of forming large factions like the Abyss Sea and Dragon Palace City. What Abyss race? No. Yunnan immediately begged for mercy and denied, making Shiyu frown. I fled here. The planet I was on was invaded by the Cosmic Overlord army. At that time, I was still an egg and was thrown into the Starry Sky to escape. I accidentally wandered to this planet. I was wrong. Blue Planet took me in. I only want to be a good beast and protect Blue Planet now. Susu, Ning. HMPH. Emperor Wu? Shiyu, huh? Shiyu was immediately stunned. Holy shit, Yunan escaped to Blue Planet? What the hell, what was a universe overlord? Chapter 1106, 1106 Returning to the Origin Space-Time. 1106 Returning to the Origin Space-Time. During the week of communication with Emperor Wu, Shiyu told Emperor Wu most of the information about the invading species of the mythical era, such as the space worm, the space behemoth, and the Abyss Evil God. Among them, Yunan was suspected to be a member of the Abyss Evil God. This made Emperor Wu extremely serious. He didn't expect Yunan to have such a powerful background. This time, the two of them had another goal in crushing Yunan. That was to see if they could obtain any information about the Abyss Evil God from Yunan. In fact, Shiyu was already prepared for the Abyss Evil God to target Blue Planet again. In the end, Yunan said that it had escaped. Are you sure you don't know about the Abyss Evil God and the Abyss race? Yunan shook his deer head, indicating that he didn't know. It's the faction of the Abyss Sea. Your strength comes from the same source. Yunan, I really. Emperor Wu said, is it possible that they do have a relationship, but the connection isn't that close? For example, the beast tamers in the west and the beast tamers in the east are both of the same race and have the same power system, but because of the difference in the survival environment, the races have changed, and the power structure is completely different. Yunan and the Abyss race might belong to the same large race, but they're not the same faction. Didn't you say that apart from Blue Planet, humans might also exist elsewhere? Similarly, the Abyss race might not necessarily only exist in one place. Shiyu fell into deep thought and said, what I'm most concerned about now is the universe overlord Yunan mentioned. What's that? He looked at Yunan. Universe overlord. What kind of creature could be called this? Yunan, I'm not very sure either. This information was all branded in my bloodline memories. At that time, before I was born, my mother planet was invaded. A cosmic overlord is the overlord of the entire universe. It's an extremely powerful species in the universe. Every generation, they will subdue a large number of subordinates and form an army to run rampant in the universe. They have occupied countless resource planets. My mother planet is also one of them. I successfully escaped and wandered in the universe. In the end, I chose this low-level planet to grow in order to avoid encountering too strong a natural enemy. Yunan was extremely aggrieved. It had already tried its best to choose low-level planets. At that time, the rules on the current Blue Planet were incomplete. The strongest was only a demigod. There was no divine-level life form at all. It was very suitable for it to grow. Shiyu looked at Emperor Wu, and Emperor Wu looked at Shiyu. He felt that things were developing in a ridiculous direction. How many secrets are there in the starry sky? Shiyu fell into deep thought. Then, he looked at the sky. The intermediate gods, high-level gods, and top-notch gods on Blue Planet had left Blue Planet and gone to the starry sky to work. How were they now? These gods should have returned to Blue Planet, but the way they returned was different. For example, the goddess Wa mentioned by the World Tree had returned in a certain way and brought back that seed of hope, human. From this, it could be seen that the human factions and potential in the place where goddess Wa went were definitely very huge, so much so that she treated humans as the hope of Blue Planet's revival. The information Yunan could obtain was still too little. Now, Shiyu only hoped that a few of those gods who had run away from home could return and bring back some information about the entire universe. The Abyss invaded others and was also invaded by others. The universe was really chaotic. Starry Sky Universe, Emperor Wu also looked at the sky and muttered to himself. He was even more curious about places outside Blue Planet. In the end, if I can't solve the curse and break through to the divine level, I might also try to go to that place. Shiyu shook his head. Leaving Blue Planet and heading to the starry sky might not be difficult for legendary and demigods if they work hard. However, the nearby galaxy was not a good place to break through and stay. Otherwise, there should have been a precedent of demigod experts breaking through to the divine level near Blue Planet. Now that these gods had disappeared without a trace, there was an 80% chance that they had gone to a further place to wander. Shiyu knew very well how big the universe was. Even if he rode Buggy, the god of faith in the starry sky, it was very difficult for Shiyu to guarantee how far it could lead him in the starry sky. After thinking about it, Shiyu felt that if anyone below the divine level wanted to travel far in the starry sky, with the current situation, they still had to rely on technology, such as a super light-speed spaceship. Ling. Work hard. How do we deal with it? Emperor Wu looked at Yunnan again. By the way, have you dealt with its generals? Shiyu, only 5 returned. The others sensed that something was wrong and ran away. In the future, Senior Emperor Wu, you can slowly search for them yourself. No, Shiyu looked at Yunnan. Don't you want to do something? For example, summon your subordinates or something. Yunnan. It was heartbreaking. In the end, Emperor Wu decided to raise Yunnan in the ruins and let Yunnan undergo self-reform. It was too much of a pity to directly kill Yunnan like this. After all, it was a quasi-divine level renewable resource. Now that it had been cleansed by Susu once, the threat of Yunnan had decreased greatly. Moreover, Emperor Wu believed that he still had 20 years to live. During this period of time, suppressing a weak Yunnan shouldn't be a problem. As for what happened after that, that would depend on the situation at that time. In fact, Shiyu also had the right to deal with Yunnan. If Shiyu wanted to take Yunnan away, Emperor Wu probably wouldn't say anything. However, when Shiyu thought of the spatial rejection, he didn't waste the effort. Chapter 1107, 1107 Returning to the Origin Spacetime, 2. 1107 Returning to the Origin Spacetime, 2. Apart from the Time Sprite's main body, creatures that transmigrated through space and time would be rejected by space and time according to their strength. The longer they stayed, the stronger the rejection, until they were expelled into the space and time flux by this space and time. As a demigod, it would consume more energy to bring Yunnan to transmigrate. Secondly, it wouldn't stay long if it brought it back to the modern era. If he killed Yunnan and turned it into an undead, he could erase its life force and consciousness and transform it into a pure puppet. Unfortunately, Kai Tong's undead space couldn't withstand the totem-level undead of the mythical race at the moment. Moreover, that would be too wasteful. It would lose the original intention of being a sustainable resource. However, Shiyu wasn't someone who would suffer a loss. After all, he had consumed all of Susu's sea cleansing spirit here. However, Shiyu didn't go overboard. He only took a small portion of the meteorite fragments as labor remuneration. Compared to all the fragments taken from Yunnan's body, these meteorite fragments were a drop in the bucket. However, they could fully arm the modern iron-eating beast core. The number was just right. As for later, after all, there was still Yunnan in this space-time. The Yunnan in this space-time was stronger and larger. With his experience fighting the ancient Yunnan this time, Shiyu believed that soon after returning, the Yunnan in this space-time wouldn't be arrogant for long. Emperor Wu sealed Yunnan in the ruined space. After Shiyu killed all the subordinates Yunnan summoned in 2 to 3 moves, the two of them looked at each other and started to return to Dong Huang. How long can you stay? Emperor Wu said. In another 3 days, the strength of the spatial rejection should increase by another level, Shiyu said. Let me entertain you well for the next 3 days, Emperor Wu said. Shiyu smiled. It's a deal. The battle between Shiyu, Emperor Wu, and Yunnan looked fast, but it actually took a total of 4 hours for them to leave the border of Dong Huang and return. 4 hours was neither long nor short. At this time, the iron-eating beast core at the border of Dong Huang and some trusted factions of Emperor Wu inside Dong Huang were extremely anxious. The battle fluctuations of the battle between Emperor Wu and the others had already spread throughout the entire eastern continent, especially Dong Huang, which was closest to the Yun nation. Places like Wuling City could feel an obvious vibration. Baby Ginseng's ultimate self-destruction even made the atmospheric fluctuations spread throughout Blue Planet, making countless experts raise their eyebrows slightly. It could be said that if it weren't for the fact that Ling and Buggy used the Forbidden Domain to restrict the range of their battle, it might be very difficult to determine the winner of this huge battle if they didn't level the surrounding totem countries. Before long, the outcome of this battle should spread throughout the world. The legendary beast tamer Emperor Wu of the Eastern Ancient Nation defeated a powerful demigod again. After killing 2 demigods in a row, Dong Huang, who had Emperor Wu presiding over it, would become one of the most powerful factions on Blue Planet. Its reputation would deter thousands of potential enemies. Without Yunan's interference, the Emperor Wu of this space and time might lead Dong Huang into a stronger country. The evaluations of the future generations would definitely improve. His Majesty Emperor Wu, it's His Majesty Emperor Wu. They naturally sensed the fluctuations of the battle. Now, be it Shi Yu or Emperor Wu, they looked to have returned intact. Did this mean that Yunnan had already been killed? Inform the entire country that Yunnan and the 12 generals under him have been killed. Emperor Wu walked onto the high platform step by step, and Shi Yu yawned beside him. He didn't let Emperor Wu preserve his merits, nor did he really want the position of general or even guardian. After all, he wasn't from this space and time. He might not come in the future. If the people knew that apart from Emperor Wu, there was also such a powerful beast tamer, it would purely be an additional responsibility for nothing. Just like Buggy's account name, he only wanted to be a pure time traveler. Or rather, space-time black merchant. At the same time, when everyone heard Emperor Wu say that the Yun nation had been destroyed, these soldiers who had been tense and guarding the border for many years immediately relaxed and revealed extremely surprised expressions. Long live His Majesty Emperor Wu! Cheers resounded throughout the city. Among the few people, such as Ji Mengzhu, their gazes landed on Shi Yu beside Emperor Wu. Although they didn't know Shi Yu's true origin like Emperor Wu, they knew very well that apart from Emperor Wu's divine bravery, it was all thanks to this person that this battle and the previous crisis could have such a perfect outcome. A legend beast tamer comparable to a legendary expert recruited by the country. That night, Shi Yu drank happily. It was rare for 11 to eat more. It ate the meteorite fragment for a long time, but it didn't dare to digest it. Its demon god body had already reached the highest proficiency below transcendent. If it increased its level a little more, it would lead it to the totem level. Therefore, after 11 ate the meteorite fragment, it could only store the power of the demon god in the source of physical strength for future eruptions. Shi Yu felt that when his first beast-taming space broke through to level 8, he might be able to contract a totem level above his level. Be it 11, Kai Tong, Baby Ginseng, or Ling, after they reached the totem level, because they were mythical races, they would immediately have demigod level battle power. Chapter 1108, 1108 Returning to the Origin Spacetime, 3. 1108 Returning to the Origin Spacetime, 3. It was actually very difficult to nurture a demigod. Even the strongest of Emperor Wu's 9 battle pets was only top-notch totem battle power. As for Shi Yu's pet, because its foundation was very solid, it could completely break through to a demigod next. If he did this, Shi Yu would dare to challenge Yunnan alone even without any help. In the next 2 days, Shi Yu used his identity as a black merchant to start another round of ancient procurement. Some rare resources that had already disappeared in the modern era were purchased by Shi Yu. In the past 2 days, Emperor Wu had been hurriedly recovering from his injuries and adjusting his state, preparing to welcome his parting battle with Shi Yu. In fact, Emperor Wu felt that he didn't do much in the battle with Yunnan. Be it Baby Ginseng's explosion or the forbidden domain maintained by Ling and Buggy, they greatly reduced the pressure of his battle. For Emperor Wu, the first credit for this battle would definitely be Shi Yu's. Regarding Shi Yu's unfathomable strength, even in the battle with a demigod, Emperor Wu felt that he had yet to see it clearly. Seeing that Shi Yu was about to leave, the belligerent Emperor Wu couldn't give up this opportunity. After sparring with Emperor Wu tomorrow, we should go back. Shi Yu was talking to Ling and the others about the battle tomorrow. Ling looked pitiful. It only hoped that its teammates' defensive skills would be awesome and exciting. It hoped that Emperor Wu wouldn't break through its defense and punch it. A day later, Shi Yu and Emperor Wu appeared in the Yun nation again. At this moment, this place was already in ruins. It was best to make this place a battlefield for the second battle. On the desolate land, Emperor Wu looked at Shiyu opposite him with a serious expression. He was certain that although Shiyu wasn't the beast tamer with the highest level of space and time in the future, he was definitely the beast tamer with the strongest talent and potential. Otherwise, Shiyu wouldn't have transmigrated into space and time, something that went against common sense. Although it was a pity that he couldn't fight the legendary Shiyu, the current outcome was also very satisfying for Emperor Wu. Rules, everyone fights, Emperor Wu said. In terms of pets, Shiyu actually had the advantage. However, Little G, Ducky, Little Purple, and Chi were really weak at the moment. Shiyu didn't plan to let them participate in this battle. All right. Opposite Emperor Wu, Shiyu was wearing a black and red mecha suit that Emperor Wu had never seen before. He nodded seriously. Of course, I won't take advantage of you. After all, my level is 2 levels higher. An hour, and the sparring is limited to an hour. If I can't defeat you during this period of time, I'll just admit defeat, Emperor Wu said. During this period of time, I'll do my best. Shiyu smiled and said, really? You have to think about it carefully. You originally had a chance to win, so don't throw this opportunity away yourself. Ha ha. Emperor Wu shook his head and said, it doesn't matter. After all, it's just a spar. It's impossible for us to fight with all our might. Your ginseng baby's self-destruction and the sea-cleansing spirit of the blue sea sprite have already been used on Yunnan. The current you isn't at your peak battle power at all. Boom! As soon as Emperor Wu finished speaking, he directly fused with his 8 pets. His 2-meter-tall body suddenly increased to 10 meters tall. The standard armor he was originally wearing outside immediately changed into a red ghost armor with a bull-horned helmet. It was said that this was armor made of demigod-level bull bones as the main material. A new spirit was born later and was obtained and contracted by Emperor Wu. It was named Emperor Wu Armor, one of Emperor Wu's main protective armor. Apart from that, the characteristics of the other pets also appeared on Emperor Wu one by one, making him an ultimate monster with the image of a beast warrior. How are you going to face me in this form? Emperor Wu slowly floated up and looked at Shiyu. This state could be said to be the peak state of fusing the level 9 fusion talent and the power of the 9 totem lides into one. The reason why it couldn't become a quasi-divine skill was because the power was too mixed. After all, it came from 9 different lives. Compared to that pure single power, it was even harder to touch the corresponding laws. However, this didn't mean that Emperor Wu's attack was weak. Emperor Wu's punch was just like the huge eagle in the Shenfeng nation that purely relied on energy levels to become demigod-level battle power. It directly completed a different Dao validation. One relied purely on extreme energy, while the other purely relied on extreme physical strength. Although there were no quasi-divine skills, it was better than a demigod. Dad taught me to use magic to defeat magic, Shiyu said with a smile. Who? Emperor Wu revealed a confused expression. What did he mean? Father. Shiyu's father was probably also a rare super expert in the world, at least legendary level. At this moment, just as Emperor Wu was in deep thought about how strong Shiyu's father was and who he was, Shiyu raised his palm. A green and white spinning Rubik's Cube appeared in Shiyu's palm in the black and red mecha battlesuit. Then, it kept splitting and increasing. That mechanic life form. Emperor Wu's heart skipped a beat. Hoo. At this moment, as Ling kept splitting, it turned into a small cube that filled the sky and wrapped around Shiyu. Soon, Shiyu's figure disappeared in front of Emperor Wu. In its place, under the entanglement of the substantialized green hurricane, a huge humanoid mecha 20 meters tall gradually formed. The huge mecha's entire body was white as the base. It had red, blue, and black colors as support. Its limbs, head, and body had layers of mechanical devices. Chapter 1109, 1109 Returning to the Origin Spacetime, 4. 1109 Returning to the Origin Spacetime, 4. Behind it were huge green light wings with 3 pairs of huge light wings as the main body. Under the blink of the light wings, the entire ground shattered and was obliterated by shocking energy fluctuations. The huge body flew in the sky, and the gaze on its head had already completely locked onto Emperor Wu himself. Although its body was in the form of a human, its head had the characteristics of the sheep race. Under the contrast of the white careen horn, its entire face was like a white demon. Under the witness of Emperor Wu, the energy fluctuations of this mecha were still rising steadily. In the next moment, black armor that flickered appeared again on the mecha's white body and finally perfectly fused into the white body. 11 was already in position. Inside the mecha, the 10 iron-eating beasts formed a stable army pattern on the forelimbs, head, torso, and various other parts of the mecha, loading into one with the ultimate mechanical Ling. This was 11's 9 Li army skill. With the Bin Bear as the core, it was a super army skill that had fused Impregnable and Clones. At this moment, what Ling wanted was the defense power brought by the super army skill Resonance. Otherwise, they definitely wouldn't be able to withstand a single attack from Emperor Wu. With 11's current attributes, it could indeed be said to be the strongest defense. It was also Ling's first defense. The mecha energy room undoubtedly became the most important energy power of the mecha. It was carried by the 5-element circulation system and used water as the source, allowing the elemental power to coexist and ensuring that the mecha had unlimited energy. In the nutritional cabin, baby ginseng slept here. It contributed its strength in the nutritional fluid to reduce the burden on the members. If necessary, it could even activate the time system and let everyone explode to the limit. Come on. In the mecha cockpit, Shiyu's expression was serious as he looked ahead. Now that Ling had mastered the ultimate machine, its loading skill was actually similar to a top-notch fusion talent. At the moment, it could combine the strength of Shiyu, 11, Buggy, and the others into one. Shiyu wanted Emperor Wu's top-notch fusion talent EXP. Apart from helping others develop their fusion talent, he could also more or less provide Ling with a reference EXP. I see, Emperor Wu muttered as he looked at the mecha in front of him. At this moment, with a boom, the red patterns on the huge white body lit up. A huge long sword condensed in the mecha's hand. Kai Tong, who was in the arms warehouse, directly opened its eyes. With it already loaded, it possessed Shiyu again. At the same time, an unfamiliar starry sky domain formed around the mecha, as if it had dragged Emperor Wu and the mecha into the universe. Vague starlight lingered around. This time, it was Buggy's imagination power, in order to provide the best battlefield for the mecha to suppress the other party's strength. Under the starry sky, the fusion mecha and the fusion emperor looked at each other from afar. Both parties could sense the shocking eruption contained in the other party's terrifying power. You can also fuse. Emperor Wu laughed very happily. He didn't expect Shiyu to also master the battle skill of fusing the power of many pets into one. He originally thought that he would defeat them one by one in this battle. He liked to fight head-on. Come on! Emperor Wu and Shiyu shouted together. As soon as the two parties started, they used their ultimate moves to greet each other. Outside the mecha, cold air spread. It wanted to freeze time and strive for the speed of its attack, but Emperor Wu's punch seemed to have exceeded space and time, directly making the heavenly frost cold energy ineffective. It should be the ability of the ethereal time monkey. Shiyu also raised his arm slightly. The huge sword phantom blocked this punch and started the immortal slaying sword formation. In the next moment, the huge impact shattered the invisible armor wrapped around all the members of the 9 Li army layer by layer. The restoration characteristic brought by the indestructible golden body quickly converted the damage of this punch for the mecha, but it was not as fast as the spreading speed of the fist power. At the cost of a black meteorite yak scapegoat vomiting blood in the undead space, most of the damage of this attack was finally turned into luck by Ling at the critical moment. However, the huge mecha still couldn't help but fly backward. In the cockpit, Shiyu's face turned pale. Baby Ginseng quickly activated the treatment. At the same time, Emperor Wu was also trapped in the immortal slaying sword formation and couldn't escape. No matter how strong Emperor Wu was, he couldn't break through the immortal slaying sword formation. He could only use his fist to resist the attack of the sword formation and attack in place of defense. Holy martial chain break. Emperor Wu threw 17 consecutive punches. Bang! At the cost of Emperor Wu's injuries, it shattered the spatial domain. In an instant, Emperor Wu, who had dismantled the immortal slaying sword formation, rose into the air. The injuries on his body healed at a high speed and flew into the sky with a huge mecha that reacted. Shiyu raised the sword in his hand again and slashed with it. The sword contained the laws of the sword. The moment it touched, it formed a sword domain, forming the immortal slaying sword formation that surrounded Emperor Wu infinitely. In the fusion state, there were many benefits. The immortal slaying sword formation, which originally consumed a lot of energy and could only be used once, could be used multiple times under Susu's unlimited energy, the nourishment of the ginseng baby, and the burden of the scapegoat. In just 2 rounds of confrontation, Emperor Wu, who was trapped in the sword formation again, smiled and said, "Your attack power is not bad, and your endurance is not bad. Unfortunately, your defense is your weakness." Chapter 1110, 1110 Returning to the Origin Space-Time, 5. 1110 Returning to the Origin Space-Time, 5. Just the aftermath alone, you have to defend with all your might. Yours is called a mecha, right? I want to try dismantling a mecha with my bare hands. Feel free to try. In the cockpit, Shiyu grinned. This couldn't be helped. Even if 11 used the army skill to defend with all its might, it was still smashed by Emperor Wu's fist. Moreover, the other party resisted the immortal slaying sword formation and wasn't heavily injured. Its defense was clearly at the monster level like strength. It was difficult. It was also using attack as defense. Let's compete in endurance. Boom! The 2 parties collided again. This time, Emperor Wu used some kind of defensive secret skill against the extreme martial tyrant Emperor. His body took the sword head-on. Although it was said to be an injury in exchange for an injury, he hit Shiyu and the others almost unscathed. During this process, Shiyu and the others' hearts were in their throats. Buggy's mental strength circulated 200%. It wanted to teleport the mecha in the domain to dodge, but it was still a step too slow. The entire fusion mecha was instantly sent flying like a meteor. A large dent appeared in its abdomen. Seeing this, Emperor Wu smiled in the air and said, "Profundity, divine martial defense." This was his strongest defense. However, to Emperor Wu's surprise, although most of the body of the mecha with weak defense had caved in, it seemed to still have energy during the process of flying backward and quickly repairing. Boom boom boom. Countless electromagnetic cannon missiles shot out of the mecha. Emperor Wu was just about to smash it with his fist when his expression suddenly changed, and blood flowed out of his mouth. Buzz! The sound of Laws of the Wind blessing sounded. At the same time, spatial ripples appeared again. The huge mecha teleported behind Emperor Wu, whose old injuries had relapsed. It directly crossed its body, wanting to slash its soul and separate Emperor Wu's fusion. Sorry, that punch just now happened to be blocked by the strong spatial turbulence that failed to teleport. In the mecha, Shiyu had lingering fears as he smiled at Emperor Wu, whose old injuries had relapsed. It slashed down with the soul slash. It attacked Emperor Wu with the electromagnetic cannon opposite. Lucky! However, in the next moment, Shiyu cursed. Damn, martial arts clone. Emperor Wu directly disappeared from Shiyu and the others' attack range. It wasn't a spatial skill. It was as if the one fighting Shiyu and the others had always been a clone that disappeared into thin air. The target of the electromagnetic cannon immediately became the mecha main body. Again! Emperor Wu's true body appeared and punched the mecha again. In the mecha, Shiyu took a deep breath and looked at the mecha that kept rising and falling in front of him. He couldn't care less about its transformation rules and directly activated the Yin-Yang Taiji domain under Kai Tong's possession state. The huge Taiji painting formation covered the starry sky domain. 2 stars, 1 yin and 1 yang, formed a Taiji painting, making Emperor Wu's expression change. 11. Attack! Do you still have strength? Wu! What's this? Emperor Wu frowned and threw a punch. Similarly, the huge mecha opposite quickly turned into a huge cannon with its left arm that didn't have a sword. With a boom, the yin-yang millstone that shook the nomological space blasted towards Emperor Wu's fist like a spinning cannonball. Boom! A huge dust mist and illuminate swept up and swallowed the mecha and Emperor Wu. Space shattered, and the starry sky domain disappeared, almost sweeping the two of them into the spatial turbulence. In the intense confrontation, as countless energies collapsed, another demigod-level battle occurred in the Yun Nation. Once again, it attracted the attention of the world. Although the Blue Planet experts didn't know who was fighting this time, the terrifying energy swept through the atmosphere and produced shocking fluctuations. It was enough to prove that these were two invincible existences. That night, Emperor Wu returned to the border of Donghuang heavily injured. Ji Mengzhu, Ji Yuncheng, and the others were immediately shocked when they saw Emperor Wu return heavily injured. They had also sensed the battle fluctuations just now and knew that Emperor Wu had gone to spar with Shi Yu. However, what kind of battle did the two of them fight? Why was his injury even more serious than when fighting Yunnan? "Wu Dong, are you all right?" General Ji Yun said when there was no one around. "You guys are really good. You fought for a full 11 hours. Ha ha," Emperor Wu smiled and shook his head. "It's all right." "Uncle Wu, who won?" Ji Mengzhu quickly asked Emperor Wu, and Emperor Wu looked at her and pondered for a moment. "What do you think?" Emperor Wu said. "You won?" Ji Mengzhu said. "He won." "What?" General Ji Yun and Ji Mengzhu couldn't believe it. Emperor Wu shook his head. Indeed, it was as Shi Yu had said. If not for that agreement, he, Wu Dong, would have won. Unfortunately, he had taken things too hard and set the 1-hour agreement. According to the rules, he lost. However, the two parties didn't end because of this. Instead, they continued fighting. In the end, because the mecha's overload couldn't be loaded with all its members at the same time and disintegrated, Shi Yu and the others were restricted by their low levels and couldn't continue fighting. On the other hand, Emperor Wu fused with 8 pets and fought for 11 hours. In the end, even its energy was almost exhausted, but it could still rely on its physical strength to display demigod-level strength. In the words of Emperor Wu, his fusion state could be maintained for a month at most without fighting. In high-intensity battles, it was enough to last for a day. In the end, it was still the burden ability brought by his level. The talent enhancement gave him an advantage. Otherwise, under the same level, he might lose to Shi Yu in less than an hour. "Where's Sir Shi Yu?" General Ji Yun suddenly asked in confusion. "Yes, where's Shi Yu?" Ji Mengzhu said. "He could actually defeat a legendary with a legend level? How is this possible?" "He left. I wonder if he'll return, but I look forward to fighting him again." Emperor Wu looked at the starry sky. At the same time, under Qi's lead, the exhausted Shi Yu and the others returned to their space and time according to the spatial coordinates. In Qi's words, she wanted to take advantage of her current enfeebled weakness to transmigrate quickly. This way, her consumption would be smaller. Damn Emperor Wu, he doesn't care about virtue. After an hour, I've already won. He just had to beg me to continue fighting. It made me look like this now. He has thick eyebrows and big eyes. He's very bad. I've decided. In the future, I'll film Emperor Wu legendary and let him be beaten up more miserably by Yunnan. After Shi Yu replied to the original space-time, he was still indignant. It hurt. Sob, 11 and the others were also weak. However, just as they returned to the original space and time island, the expressions of Shi Yu and the others immediately changed. It's only been a few days since I left, but the planet's laws actually revived at this time? He knew that before the mythical revival, Blue Planet would experience several revivals of laws of different degrees, but he couldn't determine the exact day. He didn't expect. In other words, the memories of those reincarnated gods should have awakened now, right? Damn it, I wonder how many days it has been since they revived. I missed the best time to get intimate with them. It's a huge loss. Chapter 1111, 1111 Demigod Cat Mother Gem Cat, 1. 1111 Demigod Cat Mother Gem Cat, 1. After returning to the original space and time and discovering that the laws had recovered slightly, although Shiyu felt that it was a pity that he couldn't witness it, it wasn't a big problem. Sensing the changes in the entire blue planet, he took a deep breath and realized that the meditation efficiency had increased again. This way, he might be able to break through to level 8 in 2 months. The revival of laws this time was a huge benefit to everything on the planet. Although it still couldn't give legendary demigod level experts the chance to break through to the divine level, low-level lives could basically grow faster. There will definitely be some changes in the association this time. I've already imagined a pile of communication records. Shiyu stood on the space and time island and looked at the surrounding pets. Let's return to Dong Huang first. Wu tilde wu. Yi. Under the response of the pets, Shiyu rode buggy and first left the chaotic magnetic field on the space and time island. He received an emergency communication from President Lin through the 10th Bureau's index. Then, he arrived at the edge of the Dong Huang Sea and received a bunch of messages from Senior Lu. Their message content was basically similar. It was to ask where Shiyu was now and when he would return to Dong Huang. It was all about the first revival of the laws. Soon, Shiyu descended on Dong Huang and called Senior Lu. Shiyu, you're finally here. After the call was picked up, Senior Lu's overjoyed voice came from the other side. It's only been a few days. Shiyu was also helpless. You sent a total of 11 messages and called 6 times. It's all because you disappeared and couldn't be found. It's fine usually, but after such a big thing like the revival of laws happened, you didn't even return to Dong Huang. It's very difficult not to think too much. For example, encountering an awakened god and being smashed or something. Shiyu said, "What a joke. I'm super strong now." He had just defeated Emperor Wu. Although it was not the peak stage and Emperor Wu who Shiyu relied on the rules to win, he definitely had the strength to fight a demigod. Senior Lu said, although the rules are only the revival of the initial stage, there are already many gods who have awakened because of this. The gods in the best state have already recovered to the totem level. In addition to their mythical race and quasi-divine skills, they have demigod-level battle power. Moreover, demigods like them probably have battle power comparable to demigods who are close to the strongest ladder like the Blue Sea Sprite. Their strength even exceeds Senior Dragon God and the others. Had the Dragon God already become a combat measurement unit? The gods in poorer states have basically recovered to the Overlord level, similar to most of the gods awakened by the World Tree on Inatella Island previously. However, because the rules are a little more perfect than at that time, they can already move in the outside world for a long time. Of course, there are also weaker ones, such as those reincarnated gods. Their upper limits are those who awaken their memories at the totem level, and those who recover their memories at the Overlord, Monarch, Commander, and Transcendent levels. The difference in strength now is different. It was like this. But with their potential, it's definitely not a problem for them to recover to demigod level before the mythical stage completely revives. Under normal circumstances, apart from Qi, Shiyu muttered in his heart. In the end, he asked, "It's only been a few days, but there's quite a lot going on. Where are you now?" Lu Qingyi, President Lin established Bureau 14. At the moment, I'm the director. The original intention of this department was to find those divine beasts whose memories have awakened or revived from their sleep and rope them in. The nature is considered a combination of the 1st and 11th bureaus. Now that you're back, I'll leave this director to you, Lu Qingyi said tiredly. Those divine beasts are too difficult to deal with. At the moment, in Dong Huang, an elemental level life form revived from the mythical ruins. After reviving, it came out and showed its divinity before returning. It ignored me completely and didn't open the door no matter how hard I knocked. There's also a reincarnated divine beast that has awakened its memories. This divine beast has a contractor. It has already broken free of the contract. Fortunately, it's still following beside the original contractor, but it has a little too many requests. It wants to rope it in and let Dong Huang take a few mythical resources first. It's a headache. Shiyu was stunned. A few mythical resources were too much. How's the strength of that reincarnated divine beast? Lu Qingyi said, although the strength of the divine beast that awakened its memories has only recovered to the monarch level, it has mastered a quasi-divine skill and has totem-like battle power. Moreover, the quasi-divine skill is very special. If they're unwilling, we can't even enter their house. By the way, its original contractor has also become its little brother. Ah, no, its little sister. Moreover, because its identity is a bad girl with 2 dead parents, it's not easy to communicate. Now, it's completely focused on the other party and doesn't plan to stand on Dong Huang's side at all. I'm thinking of a way to resolve this incident steadily. Shiyu was amused. That's normal. A ready-made divine level thigh. I will definitely cozy up to this. Lu Qingyi said, stop joking. Hurry up and think of a way. Cough, but is it that difficult? Yes. Now, Teacher Ying is also assisting me beside me. Perhaps I've annoyed her. We can't even get close to their 1-kilometer range now. We're all isolated by the other party's spider silk domain. Shiyu can't get close? Chapter 1112, 1112 Demigod Cat Mother Gem Cat, 2. 1112 Demigod Cat Mother Gem Cat, 2. Even Teacher Ying can't? I've already given it the 9-color Divine Light Inheritance Crystal. It already has top-notch totem battle power, why can't it even enter the domain of a monarch-level reincarnation god? Woo 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 woo. The gem cat's cry came from the other side of the phone. The gem cat cursed from the other side. Could it be blamed? A cat face leaned over and said, it's not my fault. That big spider's spider silk domain contains special laws. The nature of the laws is indestructible, and it has nothing to do with strength. Although its level is still low and its quasi-divine skill isn't perfect, ordinary attacks are really useless. They've been moving around in the city, but I don't dare to use too powerful skills. Where's your instant transmission? Shiyu said. The domain has also sealed the spatial skill. The gem cat. Shiyu said, the proficiency is too low. The gem cat. Hash yuan hash at yuan. The gem cat was angry. The other party's spider silk domain is indeed very difficult to break. It has nothing to do with Teacher Ying, and I'm helpless. Fortunately, they didn't do anything illegal, but they're not interested in Dong Huang's rope. Shiyu said, then forget it. Some people like freedom and don't like to be restricted. Don't force it. Lu Qingyi said, that's indeed the case, but President Lin only feels that it's a pity. After all, even that girl doesn't have much of a sense of belonging to Dong Huang. It would be a pity if they left Dong Huang in the end. Why don't I take a look? Shiyu said. After obtaining Senior Lu's message, Shiyu quickly arrived at the Lingland city she described. This place was backed by a continuous mountain. It was a 3rd-level city, located in the suburbs of a 2nd-level city. The geography was very remote. Shiyu directly arrived at the hotel where Senior Lu had temporarily rested and knocked on the door to enter. The door was opened through psychic power. At this moment, Lu Qingyi was leaning against a chair and reading with a conflicted expression. As Shiyu entered, she put down the book and said, why do you look so weak again? Shiyu smiled and said, I just underwent a high-intensity battle. I've almost recovered from my restoration. The supplements were all backed up in advance. Shiyu didn't tell Senior Lu that he had used Qi's power to transmigrate to an ancient parallel space. Qi didn't want anyone other than Shiyu to know its identity. It was mainly because Qi was afraid of being captured because its ability was always coveted. She really didn't want to cause trouble. The less people knew about it, the better. In short, you're finally here. Lu Qingyi stretched and said, the director of Bureau 14 is yours. I'm off work. How do you plan to deal with that spider? Shiyu said, let's go take a look later. A. What's Teacher Ying doing? Why didn't it welcome me? Shiyu looked at the gem cat in meditation. Why was it suddenly so hard-working? Shiyu looked at the dozen or so gem cat clones lying on the bed meditating with a strange expression. The revival of laws. Many countries have life forms that have awakened their divine power. Teacher Ying also wants to work hard and see if she's the reincarnation of a god, Lu Qingyi said with a smile. I feel that it's really possible. After all, Teacher Ying's talent is very strong, and her bloodline is very special. She doesn't look like an ordinary gem cat. Shiyu was speechless. It looked like it was working hard, but it turned out that it still wanted to take a shortcut to become stronger. Impossible. If it was the reincarnation of a god, Shiyu could tell at a glance through the mythical revival teaching in the skill index. For example, Qi. Because it was the reincarnation of a time sprite, even if all other skills couldn't be taught, the mythical revival directly showed that it could be taught. Teacher Ying couldn't teach mythical revival, and it was only an intermediate resistance. No matter how one looked at it, it didn't look like the reincarnation of a big boss. Teacher Ying, all the best. You might really succeed, Shiyu said kindly. Although it was impossible to awaken, it wasn't bad to be able to cultivate hard. This was also worthy of that inheritance gem. The gem cat opened its eyes and said, Really? Really, Shiyu said. The gem cat, I feel that you're lying to me. Shiyu? Speaking of which, is ancient god Golden Bull awake? Shiyu asked. The gem cat, stop talking. The gods on Inatella Island are still sleeping. There's no movement at all. It's been watching with my clone for more than half a year. The gem cat's main body had a pained expression. The clones in meditation also revealed pained expressions. Although it wasn't them and they had never seen that clone, they were both in the same boat. There was no need for them to know pain. Shiyu scratched his cheek and said, Teacher Ying, you've worked hard. This is for you. Shiyu took out a special reincarnation fruit from the ruined space and threw it to the gem cat. The gem cat was stunned and caught the reincarnation fruit with its psychic power. Wasn't this the reincarnation fruit that had awakened the power of the abyss demon duck? It had wanted it previously, but Shiyu had always rejected it with the excuse that its resistance was too low. If it really had a previous life and was very strong, he was afraid that it would go berserk. Was Shiyu finally willing to give it to him? All right. The gem cat looked happy and said, I'll watch Inatella seriously. You guys? It looked at the pile of clones and said, you guys go patrol Inatella too. Report any commotion. The gem cat clones? Lu Qingyi? Shiyu said, there's no need. The gem cat said, then I'll eat. Chapter 1113, 1113 Demigod Cat Mother Gem Cat, 3. 1113 Demigod Cat Mother Gem Cat, 3. If I can't even do it after I eat this, I'll give up. The gem cat's expression was serious. Shiyu said, eat, eat. No, let's eat in the Blue Sea ruins. Although the gem cat now had a medium-level resistance, after being strengthened by its own 9-colored divine light, it was no problem for it to be comparable to a high-level resistance, which was the Overlord's resistance. In addition, Shiyu was different from the past now. Nothing could happen. Lu Qingyi said, what's this? Shiyu said, the resource my duck eats, the reincarnation fruit, is a resource that assists in activating the power of its previous life. If Teacher Ying really has a previous life and is the reincarnation of a god, it can be effective. If not, it's useless. Senior Lu, let's take a look. A moment later, Shiyu and the others entered the Blue Sea ruins together. The gem cat ate the reincarnation fruit excitedly. Lu Qingyi stood beside Shiyu and asked, what do you think the chances of Teacher Ying having a previous life are? Shiyu said, I feel 10%? Shiyu's judgment of whether transcendent creatures had the foundation of their previous lives was through the level of resistance and mythical revival. For example, Ducky and Susu were the reincarnation of demigods, so they had the resistance of overlords at the transcendent level. As for Teacher Ying, it was already at the totem level, and its resistance level was still medium. It didn't look like the reincarnation of a big boss no matter how one looked at it. In addition, it couldn't learn mythical revival. The 10% chance was because of its talent potential. Shiyu didn't dare to say the chances were too low. After all, sometimes, the divine-level reincarnation of the sprite was only a precedent for the lowest resistance. What if? The taste is very strange, the gem cat said after eating it in 2 bites. Yes, it's a little spicy, Shiyu said. The gem cat said, it's still acceptable, but it's slightly spicy. With that said, it was suddenly stunned. A huge power spread from the gem cat's body. Seeing this, Shiyu and Lu Qingyi were also stunned. In the next moment, the gem cat's expression became even more serious. Then, 9-colored light slowly lingered on its body. It was like the light of evolution. Damn, there was really a previous life. At this moment, although the fragment-like power memories and identity memories were already blurry, the gem cat still recalled something. At the same time, the power hidden in the deepest part of the bloodline appeared, causing the gem cat's life form to undergo a huge change. Under the lingering light of evolution, the gem cat's figure was quickly outlined in the light, gradually forming a graceful figure. This humanoid figure grew cat ears and a long cat tail, directly stunning Shiyu and Lu Qingyi. Cat girl? However, before they could see clearly what the gem cat teacher would become after activating the power of its previous life, this power quickly disappeared. The gem cat returned to its original form and opened its beautiful blue gem eyes. They were moved. It wanted more reincarnation fruits. It actually had a previous life. Moreover, it was a demigod. Although it wasn't a god, it was also the king of totems who had mastered an empire. The experience was also very legendary. As an ordinary transcendent creature, it was knocked out by the meteor gem that descended from the sky. When it woke up, its eyes mutated and it broke through to the totem level. It could be said to be a true daughter of luck. Long before the establishment of the human ancient countries like Donghuang and Minghua, it had established a super empire that dominated an area and was known as the Goddess of Day. However, the final form he cultivated in his previous life was actually in a humanoid form like the dragon god. And it was a cat girl? The reason was that this humanoid form was easier to control the power of the meteor gem. Chapter 1114, 1114 The Age of Adults has changed. 1114 The Age of Adults has changed. It was extremely quiet in the blue sea ruins. Shiyu, Lu Qingyi, and the gem cat stared at each other. After a long time, Shiyu and Lu Qingyi accepted this fact. This lazing cat was actually a demigod in its previous life. Shiyu couldn't accept it. It really succeeded in the bet? Could this guy really go from an overlord to a demigod? Shiyu's eyes were filled with tears as he felt pity for the other demigods. Also, no wonder its resistance was so low. It turned out that it had won without doing anything in its previous life. In this world, there were always a few people who were so lucky that they couldn't help but accept reality. Besides, the gem cat looked elegantly at the surrounding sea and said, I'm not an ordinary demigod. It felt that in its previous life, it had not completely unearthed the power of that meteor gem. In his previous life, it tried to transform into a cat girl to unearth more gem power. Even the gem cat race was created by it to study the relationship between various gems and eyes. In fact, even reincarnation was to unearth the power of the gem. It could be said that it was the gem cat god. Continuous research made the cat understand that the gem from the starry sky of the universe definitely had many secrets. However, restricted by the laws of the world, it couldn't be completely developed. When the mythical stage completely revived, it might be able to activate the complete power of the meteor gem that had fused into its body, even if its power still followed after reincarnation. At that time, not only would it be a demigod, but they might even have hope of reaching the divine level. Woo 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 woo. I made it through. The gem cat wiped its tears. In the past, this was also an extremely extraordinary archaeological achievement. Because the gem cat looked like an earth ragdoll cat, it had a beautiful, cute and elegant appearance, as well as the price of being close to the people, it was also a popular animal in the 7 countries on Blue Planet. Although the gem cats that could be seen now were constantly optimized by their race, their origin was really unknown. It involved the origin of a world-famous race with super popularity and was also related to a demigod. It could probably double the gem cat's net worth. The reincarnation fruit was really a good thing. However, Shiyu definitely didn't care about archaeological achievement of this level anymore. Shiyu, you saw it, right? Give me 10 boxes of reincarnation fruits to help me cultivate first. The gem cat looked forward to it just thinking about it. Demigod, demigod. Looking at Shiyu's respect for the dragon god and the importance Dong Huang attached to Dragon Palace City, the gem cat could understand that after becoming a demigod, it would directly take off on the spot. It's very tiring to create the reincarnation fruit. The corners of Shiyu's mouth twitched. Use the divine light to assist baby ginseng in creating it. The gem cat fell into deep thought and nodded. No problem. This was easy. I'll get 100 clones to assist baby ginseng, it said generously. Shiyu said, you'll scare baby ginseng. Does Teacher Ying have any hope of becoming a demigod in the short term? Lu Qingyi said. At the moment, the Blue Planet Alliance in its prototype state is still mainly the 7-nation alliance. Among the 7 countries, Shenfeng already has 3 legendary demigods. If Teacher Ying can also become a demigod, Dong Huang might have a higher right to speak. The gem cat looked smug. Although I don't really want to be involved in this kind of thing, I have no choice. I'll become a demigod as soon as possible. Speaking of which, Qingyi, help me apply for some resources in the association to help me cultivate. Shiyu smiled and said, Teacher Cat, don't worry. There's no need to feel too much pressure. It's fine even if you can't reach it. There's still me. I've cultivated bitterly for half a year. Now, I can almost fight a demigod evenly. Dong Huang won't lose out. The gem cat and Lu Qingyi? What kind of expression is that? According to the recovery progress of this law, demigods are probably going to be common. They're not worth mentioning, not worth mentioning. Pa. The gem cat was immediately unhappy. Its face fell. No, demigods weren't enough. It wanted to become a god. Linglan City. In a certain luxurious mountain villa, a golden-haired girl in a baseball jacket and white shirt and a dark green short skirt was meditating with a serious expression. Beside her was a 1.5-meter-tall humanoid white-haired spider girl in a wide white spider-patterned bathrobe. I'm level 3. A moment later, the blonde girl opened her eyes excitedly. So slow. The spider girl beside her shook her head and said, when you reach the level where you can contract a monarch-level creature, we'll leave here. Do we really have to leave Dong Huang? The golden-haired girl looked hesitant and said, this place is relatively safe. I heard that it's very dangerous abroad. She looked at the spider lady in front of her. Who would have thought that a few days ago, the other party was still an awakening-level white spider she had contracted? In just one night, the other party broke free of the contract, and its strength became difficult to understand. It was even so resourceful that it could transform into a human form that was more suitable for this society. That's only now, the white spider girl said. When it comes to dangerous times, the more lives there are in such a place, the more dangerous it is. The lives of this faction are too weak. There's no need to follow them. The titled expert you mentioned previously is only at that level. If you're conflicted, I won't take you away, the white spider girl said impatiently. If it weren't for the fact that the other party had saved its reincarnation and even contracted it to accompany it for so long, it wouldn't have bothered with this little girl. No, I'll listen to you, the blonde girl hurriedly said. She was still very convinced by the spider girl. Chapter 11:15, 11:15 The age of adults has changed, too. 11:15 The age of adults has changed, too. After all, Lu Qingyi, one of the 10 titled legends of Dong Huang, was helpless against the other party. Before this, the blonde girl was only a level 1 beast tamer in turn, the kind who purely raised pets as pets. Although she didn't know much about the beast-taming domain, she understood Dr. Lu's value. Seeing that Lu Qingyi, who often appeared on the internet and the news, had suffered and been rejected by the little spider she had contracted, she definitely trusted the white spider girl now and thought that it was the most powerful. After all, this was the reincarnation of a god. Even the previous emperors of Donghuang and the first president of Divine Source, who established the modern Donghuang, had yet to reach the divine level. In short, it was enough to believe in the little spider. Now, as an orphan, not only did she level up 2 levels in a short few days with the other party's help, but she also ate delicacies and lived in a villa. What else was there to ask for? Someone else is here. They're really haunting me. At this moment, the spider girl who was supervising the blonde girl's cultivation sensed the situation outside through the spider domain. Someone else? That Dr. Lu, the blonde girl said. No, it seems to be a male this time, the spider girl said. Let me see the surveillance video. The blonde girl took out her cell phone and pulled up the surveillance video. Then, on the mountain road, she saw a short-haired young man in a white panda short-sleeved shirt and black pants walking over with his head lowered, playing with his cell phone. The surveillance camera was quite clear. After she saw this figure, she stared at the other party's face carefully and kept feeling that it was a little familiar. Do you know him? The spider girl said. Forget it, ignore him. They can't enter anyway. Its spider silk was indestructible. Name: Divine Silk. Level: Quasi-God level. Introduction: It can condense spider silk that contains the indestructible law and has endless nature changes. The spider silk can't be destroyed by any form of power. The spider lady was very confident in her skill. But soon, its expression suddenly changed, revealing an incredulous expression. Its change also stunned the blonde girl beside it. What's wrong? At the same time, Shiyu stopped and looked at the place where the reincarnation god was. He could clearly see that a huge semicircular spider silk domain wrapped the entire villa area in front of him. The white spider silk was incomparably thin, interweaving into a cage. There are so many. Looks like the other party's quasi-divine skill is of the equipment resource type. It can be condensed and stored in advance. Not bad, I can get some to make clothes. It looks much better than Buggy's worm silk. 11. Shiyu chuckled. Little 11 crawled out of his pocket and gradually enlarged to more than a meter. Pa! Wu? Little 11 was shocked. As Teacher Cat had said, it was so hard. Shiyu said, there's also the connection barrier. From the looks of it, it can't shrink and enter either. Buggy's spatial level is inferior to Teacher Cat, and it can't teleport. It's indeed very difficult to deal with. In fact, the current spider silk was still all right. After all, it was only at the quasi-divine skill stage. There was still a chance to break it with brute force. When it really reached the divine skill stage, this skill that contained true laws was the most troublesome. At that time, this kind of spider silk might really be indestructible. If they couldn't find the right cracking method, even higher-level life forms might be helpless against the law-divine skills of life forms with weak battle power. Chi's spatial travel meant that as long as Chi could sense the danger, no one could catch it. The battles of laws were mostly skill battles. They often needed to crack some special laws. However, in most cases, Shiyu was actually invincible. Because 11's yin-yang millstone contained destructive laws that could obliterate everything, including laws. Therefore, as long as 11's divine skill proficiency level could keep up, most law divine skills could directly be obliterated by its law nature with the millstone. Just give the other party a greeting gift. Don't wait for the other party to open the door. 11. Yin-yang millstone. Woo! Little 11 directly stretched out its palm, and a yin-yang millstone the size of a teacup condensed in front of its palm. It didn't throw it out. It held it like this. As the millstone spun, dazzling lightning light began to obliterate everything. Name: Yin-yang millstone. Level: Quasi-God level, proficient. After the battle with Emperor Wu and eating the world tree fruit as a fruit for half a year, 11 Yin-Yang Millstone finally increased its proficiency by 1 point without adding any points. It was even more proficient in controlling this skill now. At this moment, just holding it in its hand, the strong destructive wave instantly obliterated the special laws on the surrounding spider silk domain. Buzz! The sound of the obliteration of the power of laws, accompanied by the huge spider silk domain that surrounded the entire villa, disintegrated into countless snow-white spider silk that flowed into the surrounding spatial cracks. In the villa, the spider girl's expression was shocked to the extreme. How can it have a top-notch law? In its understanding, those who had such laws should be top-notch gods who had already left Blue Planet. How could it appear on a pet contracted by a human? Boom! The strong law suppression made the spider girl sweat profusely, soaking her white bathrobe. Chapter 1116, 1116 The Age of Adults has changed, 3. 1116 The Age of Adults has changed, 3. Who's the human who came? It asked again. At this moment, sensing the vibration of the entire mountain, the golden-haired girl also knew that something was wrong. Unfortunately, she didn't pay attention to the beast-taming domain previously. Lu Qingyi was the same, and so was Shi Yu. She didn't know them too well. She said uncertainly, "Perhaps it's a legendary beast-tamer with a title like Dr. Lu Qingyi." The world legend, Shi Yu, seems to be known as the strongest in the younger generation, the golden-haired girl said. As they communicated, Shi Yu and 11 had already cracked the spider silk domain that made things difficult for the gem cat and Lu Qingyi. With the help of Buggy's teleportation, they teleported in front of the two of them. Buzz! Shi Yu and 11 appeared. Shi Yu smiled and made a handsome gesture to greet them. "Yo, hello, are you interested in talking? Has it changed?" The spider girl had a serious expression. It realized that it was wrong, very wrong. Although they were both titled legends, this Shi Yu was clearly much more terrifying than the girl and cat from before. "How do you have such power?" Although that cat's growth level was very high, it gave it the feeling that it was stupid. However, although this bear looked harmless, the power just now directly made it feel the bloodline suppression. Lord Divine Spirit, times have changed. This is an era of win-win cooperation. Dong Huang might not be able to withstand your previous request, but there should be other ways to cooperate. Shi Yu smiled and said, "My name is Shi Yu. Come and talk." 11 nodded. "For example, if you were a tailor, Dong Huang would pay you. You can't even bear to give me divine-level resources." "Why should I believe your sincerity?" the spider girl said. Shi Yu was stunned. "That's not true." Shi Yu said, "Do you know gods like the Boar God, Shenming, Lai Shan Jun, Demon King Dragon, Holy Divine Deer, and Ancient God Golden Bull? When I went to communicate with them, they were the ones who gave me divine-level resources." "Spider Lady?" "Impossible. There were more Western gods among these gods." The spider girl had never heard of all of them, but what was the use of gods giving you divine-level resources? The reason is very simple. Looks like your status in the divine level isn't high. You know even less than a human like me, and you haven't understood the current situation on Blue Planet. "Spider Lady?" In the next moment, through the mental scene, the spider girl saw the scene of gods giving Shi Yu divine-level resources, and the scene of the planet's resistance transforming into the world tree to give Shi Yu blessings. This was a mental connection. It could sense if what the other party said was true. The top-notch god, Goddess Wa, brought back humans. Humans are the savior race of Blue Planet, the Fate race. The mythical revival is imminent, and external enemies will invade again. Only humans can save the world. I passed the trial of the 7 ancient gods and even defeated the ancient god Golden Bull, allowing the world tree to finally choose me. This is the will of the mother planet. You can go to the world tree to verify it later. Therefore, cooperation is a win-win situation. We need your help now." Shi Yu smiled. "Don't tell me you want to go against the planet's resistance? You don't want to be rejected by Blue Planet, right?" Plop. The spider girl's heart raced as she looked at the human in front of her in shock. She didn't expect the other party's background to be so big. It was really as the other party said. Humans were actually the savior race brought back by Goddess Wa after leaving Blue Planet? And this young man from Dong Huang in front of him was actually the savior chosen by the planet's resistance in this savior race? For a moment, the Spider Girl really found it difficult to believe. It was indeed as Shiyu had said. Among the junior gods who survived, it was relatively transparent. These secrets were very impactful to it. It didn't take long for Shiyu to leave. Apart from a few words, he was talking to the Spider Lady telepathically the whole time. Beside him, the golden-haired girl was blurry the whole time and didn't dare to move. She saw the Spider Lady sweating profusely beside her, her expression constantly changing. "Did you say anything?" the blonde girl couldn't help but say when she saw the Spider Girl like this. The Spider Girl was silent. After a long silence, she said, "We're not leaving. We'll stay in Dong Huang." After all, it looked like it was arranged by the Blue Planet's will. It had to obey. It didn't want to be rejected by the Blue Planet's will. On the other side, after confirming that his Puff God template was pretty useful, Shiyu prepared a copy for Senior Lu so that she could follow the lines of the Puff God in the future. In these words, humans were a racial savior chosen by a top-notch god. There was nothing wrong with that. Almost no human faction knew about this information. At the moment, Dong Huang had the absolute advantage. He had passed the trial of the ancient god and obtained recognition, obtaining the blessings of the World Tree. There was nothing wrong with that. The whole world knew. The only problem was that at this moment, the World Tree probably had yet to entrust the fate of Blue Planet to him. It didn't treat him as a savior and only nurtured him as a genius with potential. However, it wasn't a big problem. It had the heart to be the savior of Blue Planet. It wasn't like the World Tree would despise him suddenly. It definitely couldn't wait for everyone to be the savior. Shiyu only overdrawn his identity in advance. As long as he convinced himself that he was thick-skinned enough and connected all of this together, he would have the absolute orthodox identity of the Blue Planet's crown prince. It was basically not a problem to trick most wild gods into joining. Chapter 1117, 1117 The Age of Adults has changed, 4. 1117 The Age of Adults has changed, 4. Shiyu returned to the hotel room. Seeing Shiyu return so quickly, Lu Qingyi and the Gem Cat were stunned. "It's over?" "It's over." "Is it very difficult?" Shiyu said. "Perhaps I'm more handsome." That little girl and the Spider Girl were stunned. "Lu Qingyi and the Gem Cat?" "I'm just kidding." Shiyu chuckled and said, "I've concluded a set of PY templates. Senior, you guys communicate according to this later. Later, you guys can talk to that Spider Girl and persuade it. Its ability is quite suitable to be a tailor." "Tailor?" "That's right." The Gem Cat nodded. "It could tell too." No, what template?" "I knew? Didn't you say that you would be the director of Bureau 14? Lu Qingyi said. Shiyu said, "I'll come again if you can't solve it. It's basically enough with you and Teacher Ying. I still want to continue cultivating. Now that the laws have revived and with the blessings of the World Tree, I feel that I'm not far from the level 8 beast taming space." Lu Qingyi was stunned. "So fast?" "Well, I should be able to break through to the legendary level in 2 years like Lin Feng legendary, or faster than him," Shiyu said. This directly made Lu Qingyi and the Gem Cat silent and feel a little stuffy. Legendary below the age of 25 was a little too much. Speaking of which, because of the revival of the laws, many people broke through. White Brook and Xiaozhu broke through to level 6. Jifeng even broke through to legend, Lu Qingyi said. By the way, I also placed the talent control bead with White Brook and the others. Shiyu said, I happen to have something to do with them. I obtained a batch of iron-eating beast evolution materials here. After looking for them, I'll go into seclusion again. I'll tell you the template first. Who? If he wanted to pull people in, he had to show his background. This was the most convincing thing. Without the big skin of the World Tree and the Blue Planet's will, it was too difficult to pull gods in. To put it bluntly, just the Dragon God, Divine Source Legendary, and the others weren't qualified enough to slot. They couldn't obtain the recognition of the gods. Just describing Dong Huang's potential wasn't convincing enough. 80% truth and 20% lies could maximize Dong Huang's advantage. It was relatively easy to rope in a weak god like the Spider God. After Shi Yu finished teaching Senior Lu, who had lost her way on the path of life, he headed to Wuling City. Compared to Wuling City in Emperor Wu space-time, the modern Wuling City was much more familiar to Shi Yu. In the endless blue sky, Shi Yu lay on the ship Lady Ling in the sky. He held his cell phone and dialed Senior Lin's number. He greeted her in advance before going over. Shi Yu? On the other side of the phone, Senior Panda looked surprised. She didn't expect Shi Yu, who had been missing for so long, to still know to contact her. Senior, I heard you broke through to level 6. Congratulations, Shi Yu said with a smile. Lin Xiaozhu said, HMPH, it's all thanks to Master Ji Mengzhu, teaching me well. I'm going to Wuling City now. I brought gifts for you and Senior Whitebrook. Wait for me. What gift? Lin Xiaozhu said. Hundreds of Iron-Eating Beast First Stage Evolution Materials, thousands of Iron-Eating Beast Inscription Evolution Materials. There are all 9 Evolution Inscription Materials for the Iron-Eating Beast. Among them, there are thousands of meteorite fragments. We should be able to arm the Iron-Eating Beast core. You can evolve to your heart's content. Bang! On the other side of the phone, Senior Panda almost threw her cell phone away, her face turning pale. There were thousands of meteorite fragments. You went to Pokemons Nest? However, Senior Panda trusted Shi Yu unconditionally and didn't think that he was kidding. Otherwise, with this mood fluctuating, she could beat Shi Yu to death. Senior Panda was immediately excited. Which ruin did Shi Yu obtain such a large amount of resources from? She had never heard Master Ji Mengzhu mention it. With these resources, wouldn't the Iron-Eating Beast core be invincible? It was indeed as Shi Yu had said. Their Iron-Eating Beast could also become more perfect and stronger. Coincidentally, Shi and Whitebrook had broken through to level 6 and had already made an appointment with Master Chu Jie for the advancement assessment of a top-notch master. They weren't confident yet, but if the Iron-Eating Beast could evolve a few times, it would definitely be stable. Chapter 1118, 1118 Dragon Palace Searching for the Black Tortoise. 1118 Dragon Palace Searching for the Black Tortoise. Wuling City. Shi Yu brought a pile of evolution materials over. Ji Mengzhu, Lin Xiaozhu, Whitebrook, and the others were waiting for Shi Yu early. As Shi Yu really poured a pile of evolution materials into the Iron-Eating Beast trial ruins, everyone's expressions were stunned. Where did you get this? Ji Mengzhu was shocked. Even during the era of Emperor Wu dynasty, such a large number of evolution materials couldn't be easily taken out. I cracked a ruin along the way. That's not important. Shi Yu looked at Aunt Ji Mengzhu and smiled. He took it from her family and his uncle Emperor Wu. As for the meteorite fragment, it naturally farmed Yunnan. However, it was an ancient dungeon ruin. The entire parallel space was a training ruin in Shi Yu's eyes. Yes, teacher, it's not important. Senior Panda's eyes flickered at the side. She directly sat on the ground and picked up and observed these evolution stones one by one. She was like a little moneygrubber. With this, she could confirm that the Iron-Eating Beast would completely become Dong Huang's #1 pet. Its status would correspond to those quasi-overlord races that far exceeded other countries, national treasures that could reproduce steadily. Woo, my Iron-Eating Beast can finally evolve. The beasted girl was extremely touched. The Iron-Eating Beast was good in everything, but the inscription evolution materials were too lacking. Seeing these evolution materials, she immediately didn't regret joining the Iron-Eating Beast Corps. She wanted to contribute, she wanted to change the materials. By the way, Shi Yu, I have good news for you. Lin Xiaoyu, who was holding a rock, looked at Shi Yu. What? After the revival of the laws, the probability of reproduction of most high-level pets of high-level races has increased. The experimental data on the iron-eating beasts are also extremely obvious. Before long, ordinary beast tamers can also contract iron-eating beasts. Lin Xiaoyu smiled. This was today's latest research report in Donghuang. This rule might also be applicable to humans. You can cultivate in peace now. You don't have to worry about having a child in the future. Ah, this. Shi Yu immediately smiled in embarrassment. It wasn't a big problem. Even without the revival of laws, he could still become an ordinary person through physical control and the time fruit. In short, it was impossible for there to be a situation where Emperor Wu cultivated like crazy until the end and couldn't even give birth to a child. Cough, cough. Brother Emperor Wu, miserable. When Shi Yu thought of this, he immediately didn't blame Emperor Wu for hitting him. He didn't know if the few divine medicines he had left behind could help him. Perhaps there would be a new legendary between Emperor Wu and the Empress. Bring me to see the current situation of the various armies. Let's have a meal together later. I have other things to do tomorrow, so I won't stay long, Shi Yu said. Busy person. The three of them were immediately speechless. Shi Yu expressed that he still had to prepare for battle. Break through to level 8 and farm the Yunnan in this world. He had to do it as soon as possible. With the revival of the laws, Yunnan's strength could probably improve again. Yunnan in this spacetime was already stronger than ancient spacetime. After the revival of the laws, it was undoubtedly stronger. If Yunnan was given more time to develop, Shi Yu was worried about another problem. The ancient Yunnan only used Blue Planet as a growth place. It planned to become stronger and become an extreme demigod. After absorbing the resources of Blue Planet, it would return to the starry sky. Yunnan in this space and time was undoubtedly closer to the extreme demigod. If it saw that so many gods had revived on the low-level planet Blue Planet one day and took things too hard, it wouldn't want to develop here anymore. Wouldn't Shi Yu suffer a huge loss if it directly ran out of Blue Planet? At that time, it would be all for nothing. Therefore, Shi Yu thought for a moment. He really couldn't wait for the World Tree to awaken. It was better to rely on himself than on others. He cultivated again and called Old Master Divine Source and Sister Dragon God. With the latter two added together, the suppression power would definitely be stronger than Emperor Wu. It wasn't a big problem. Next, Shi Yu, Senior Panda, and the others reminisced for a long time. They looked at the current development of the Iron-Eating Beast Army, the Green Silkworm Army, the Mechanical Beast Army, and the Phoenix Army. Among them, the Phoenix Army was built later. The Beast Tamers were all mixed-blood female soldiers with the Phoenix bloodline. The current manager was Senior Lu's mother, Mrs. Lu. The members were all carefully selected geniuses from various places. Shi Yu's batch of Beast Tamers, Zhong Qianyi, was also taking a leave of absence from school to join the army. The four armies were developing pretty well. After Shi Yu arrived to inspect them, he thought that he had money and capital now, so he casually mentioned a plan to let the Green Silkworm Army develop into spatial and dragon types. This way, the Iron-Eating Beast Army corresponded to the strongest army of Emperor Wu Dynasty, the Phoenix Army corresponded to the strongest army of the Empress Dynasty, the Green Silkworm Army corresponded to the strongest army of the Dragon Emperor and the Space Emperor Dynasty, and the Mechanical Phantom Beast Army corresponded to the strongest army of the modern era. It was directly perfect. This was what an army established by an archaeologist should look like. Forget about Emperor Shi's army. In Emperor Shi's army, beast tamers and pets were not special. They relied on the equipment and resources produced by Emperor Shi's time element pets. The powerful one was Emperor Shi, and it had little to do with the army itself. Baby Ginseng still had to take care of the first and second teams, Shi Yu, and the Gem Cat. It really didn't have time to take the time to lead another time element army. However, Shi Yu felt that he could poach the time element totem of the Prediction Owl from Imperial Capital University and let it be a dog-headed military advisor to his four armies. he was already at the totem level and had the ability to develop other time element skills on his own. Although it was a little unreliable in the past, his level was high now, after all. Bringing an army shouldn't cause him to be wiped out, right? Chapter 1119 Dragon Palace Searching for Black Tortoise, 2. 1119 Dragon Palace Searching for Black Tortoise, 2. In a day, Shi Yu visited the in-charge of the 4 armies consecutively. After everyone gathered for a meal at night, Shi Yu left Wuling City under the cover of night. He wanted to do the last thing before returning to Pingcheng to cultivate. He would go to Dragon Palace City and subdue a turtle and snake. Today, he had already left the development EXP of the top-notch fusion talent to Senior White Brook and also left some resources. Coupled with the talent bead, she could already try to develop the talent. As for Shi Yu, he still had to use the other secret skill he had obtained from Emperor Wu, the Turtle-Snake Black Tortoise fusion technique, to its effect. At the moment, there were still 4 empty seats in the second team's contract slot. He planned to catch 2 pets to raise first. The feedback from the growth of pets. It would be a waste not to. Turtle, snake, turtle, snake. This kind of thing was definitely the most common in Dragon Palace City. After contracting the turtle snake, there were still 2 slots left. Shi Yu planned to find another little cat to evolve into a white tiger. He had already gotten Teacher Cat to help pay attention. This guy knew many felines. Perhaps there were suitable ones. As for Vermilion Bird, let's see if Kai Tong could cosplay through its clone. At that time, the 4 holy beasts would be complete. There was also the Horned Demon Divine Stone. This time, as the laws revived, its life aura became more active. It was just that he didn't know when it could be unsealed. As Shi Yu flew to Dragon Palace City, his communication device rang. Shi Yu arrived at the deck of the mechanical spaceship and picked up the call side by side with Yun Hai. It was President Lin. "You're back? Where are you now?" On the other side of the phone, President Lin's tone was very experienced. "I'm back." "I'm in the sky?" "President Lin?" "I'm flying in the sky and about to go home." President Lin. Now that he was calling, he should be done. I also saw the system report from Lu Qingyi and Ji Mengzhu. "It's been hard on you for the past half a year," President Lin sighed. He was originally very worried about Shi Yu running out to wander for so long. However, when President Lin learned that Shi Yu had just returned and turned the Gem Cat into a demigod potential and strengthened the Iron-Eating Beast core at the epic level, all the negative emotions immediately disappeared. Young people should go out and explore more. Only then could they gain more. "I didn't expect you to actually find so many Iron-Eating Beast evolution materials in foreign ruins," President Lin said. "Just looking at the amount of materials and not looking at the origin, I almost thought you went to farm Yunnan alone." No, Shi Yu said with a smile. It was a party up. Recently, the various facilities of the Blue Planet Alliance have basically been perfected. I'm more busy here. Please help take care of Lu Qingyi's mission. There's actually one more thing. I wonder if you're interested." "What is it?" Shi Yu asked. He knew that President Lin would take the time to call him out of his busy schedule. He definitely had quests again. In order to compete for the right to speak in some matters, the 7-Nation Alliance plans to hold an alliance meeting to decide certain plans with battle. The 7 countries will each send a titled beast tamer below level 9, which is below the legendary level, to represent them in the battle. "You mean you want me to participate?" Shi Yu said. "That's indeed what I mean. In a month, the conference will be held. Now that the rules have revived, the titled experts of the various countries are even stronger. Those who can fight are basically the number 2s of that country. Dong Huang's titled experts are only stronger than other countries in terms of numbers and strength. Although there are beast tamers like the tyrannical sea legend who can fight against top-notch totems, the difference isn't especially obvious. Moreover, the rules of this meeting are 1 vs 1. The army tactics of many experts are restricted. After thinking about it, you're the most suitable to participate. In terms of individual pet cultivation speed, among the titled experts in the country, if you say you're first, no one dares to say they're second. Moreover, after half a year of training, your strength must be stronger, right? President Lin smiled like a sly old fox. He was right. Although the legend of the tyrannical sea was strong, it was only strong in army tactics. In his mutated Leviathan's infinite devour space, it raised an ocean army all year round as the backup power of the mutated Leviathan. With the support of this ocean army, the battle power of the mutated Leviathan could easily suppress ordinary normal totems. It was the same principle as the iron-eating beast army defending against totem-level attacks at that time. If it was the 1 vs 1 rule, the battle power of someone like the legend of the tyrannical sea would directly decrease. Shiyu could actually do this kind of army battle too. For example, the birth of life in Little Z's body was actually Shiyu nurturing his faith army. Alright, I feel that in a few days, I can represent Dong Huang, Shiyu said. President Lin was even happier. Then I'll leave it to you. By the way, you have to prepare for battle seriously. The competition in this meeting will be very intense. The first time the laws revived, many reincarnated gods awakened their memories. Many gods woke up from their sleep. According to what I know, the trump card of a titled expert in Rongguang is the reincarnation of the angel god. Now, they have already recovered their memories. In other words, if both parties don't break the contract, this titled expert will have the battle power of a mythical race, overlord level. Your solo advantage doesn't mean that you can still rely on quasi-divine skills and faith skills to kill everyone like in the World Tournament. Chapter 1120 Dragon Palace Searching for Black Tortoise, 3. 1120 Dragon Palace Searching for Black Tortoise, 3. What you have, the opponent will also have. If this situation also happens in other countries and they reach a cooperation with a certain god to contract on an equal or unequal basis, it will make this alliance meeting even more complicated. This is also one of the reasons why I'm looking for you. It's still a little difficult for the other titled legends of Dong Huang to fight an opponent with quasi-divine skills, but you're different. You have the battle record of defeating Ancient God Golden Bull. Ancient God Golden Bull should be considered one of the best among the divine-level creatures at that time, right? Shiyu was stunned before saying, I understand. The opponent this time might have a contracted target of a mythical race, right? Yes. President Lin sighed and said, Rongguang is really lucky. Shiyu also sighed. He didn't expect that his quasi-divine skill advantage had only been maintained for more than half a year before the version was updated. This way, the pressure was indeed a little high. After all, he still didn't know the situation of the opponent. If the opponent was an opponent with simple and crude elemental laws like Ancient God Golden Bull, Shiyu didn't mind. He was afraid that opponents with strange rules that involved various special phenomena would be beaten up for their information. But during this period of time, it's better to focus on meditation. It's a little tiring to add quasi-divine skills, and the efficiency isn't high. Well, I can start teaching Little G Mythical Revival, add points to Ducky, and let it awaken the Abyss quasi-divine skill. This way, maybe soon, there will be 2 more mythical races in my team. Law battles were very good at countering each other. With 2 more quasi-divine skills in the team, he could be more confident. Most importantly, by giving Shiyu more power, he could open a longer and stronger domain. After Shiyu hung up, he continued to fly towards Dragon Palace City while telling the pets of the first and second clueless teams about the so-called alliance meeting. The pets of Team 1, Buggy, Kai Tong, and the others, were immediately excited when they heard that there was a divine beast reincarnation to beat up. Roar! In the beast taming space, Buggy took the initiative to volunteer. The divine beast from the last time was beaten up by 11. Could it be left to it this time? Me. Kai Tong turned into its sword maiden form and begged Shiyu cutely. Yi, baby ginseng, on the other hand, looked old. When it thought of the subsequent pile of work, it couldn't be interested in battle at all. It only wanted to self-destruct. As expected, work was very easy to corrode resistance. Shiyu felt that the problem was very big and got Susu to cleanse baby ginseng. Don't be excited. Shiyu smiled, but soon, Shiyu realized that the first team was pretty good. The second team was even more excited. Roar! Quack! Why not let them fight the divine reincarnation this time? As long as they could also awaken quasi-divine skills, they could definitely do it. Be more reserved. The opponent is an angel god, an angel god. Little G, roar! It's a birdman. Eat my earthquake. Ducky, quack? Why would you use earthquakes on a flying opponent? Can you hit it? Leave it to me. Shiyu? As expected, he should give little G some intelligence. Expert-level basic intelligence wasn't enough. No, even elementary school students should be able to understand this kind of entry-level knowledge. He still couldn't understand how little G reached expert level. Little G, roar! Your abyssal power is countered by the angel's light, you're the one who shouldn't fight. I still have the space-splitting sword. Ducky, quack! Fight me after the meeting. Shiyu? He didn't know that the earthquake couldn't hit flying objects, but he knew that the angel light countered the power of the abyss. There was something wrong with him. Was this guy really stupid or pretending to be stupid? Dragon Palace City. Shiyu had returned to Dragon Palace City in a long time. Out of convenience, he directly entered this time. No one discovered Buggy's instant transmission. In Dragon Palace City, probably only the Space Dragon King and the Dragon God had higher spatial attainments than Buggy. After arriving, Shiyu directly found the Frost Dragon King, the Frost Demon Dragon. He didn't expect that not only did this guy not take advantage of the revival of the laws to cultivate hard, but he was also counting Trevors in his Dragon Palace. Who? Space ripples flashed, and the Ice Dragon King was shocked. Then, she saw Shiyu and the 1-meter-long little green dragon flying beside him. The corners of Ice Dragon's mouth twitched. Little ones, why are you here? Why didn't you knock? It was shocked and almost thought that someone was going to snatch the treasure. Shiyu, that was fine. This guy probably didn't fancy this trash anymore. Shiyu scratched his cheek and said, "Didn't you say last time that I didn't have to be polite and just treat this place as home?" For convenience's sake, I directly teleported in at once. Ice Dragon looked at Shiyu and Buggy in silence. All right. That seemed to be the case. Ice Dragon grinned and said, "So, you didn't come to Dragon Palace City for no reason. Is the big leader here to inspect the work? Let me tell you, the work of the Green Dragon Faith in Dragon Palace City is pretty smooth, mainly because the eldest prince, who you beat up, cooperated well. Don't worry, with me around, there's no problem at all." Shiyu chuckled and said, "It's not about that. I'm here to ask you for 2 people. Ah, wait, sea beasts. Ice Dragon, who? Shiyu said, "Do you have the personal resumes of all the members of the various turtle and snake races in Dragon Palace City? I remember that Dragon Palace City is also very strict in managing personal information, right? Get me a copy." Ice Dragon. What was Shiyu doing? However, it was true that because of the Donghuang Alliance, in terms of modernization, Dragon Palace City did very well compared to other totem countries. This also made it more convenient for the Dragon Kings to manage the various races under them. There seems to be such a thing in the Environmental Protection Department. I'll go find it. The Ice Dragon King took out something that looked like a shell and shouted at it, "Prime Minister Turtle, Prime Minister Turtle, are you there, are you there, are you there? Ah. I'm here. Help me find something. No turtle speed." A moment later, the Ice Dragon King's exclusive turtle prime minister flew over to the Ice Dragon Palace with a huge booklet. When it saw that Shiyu was also here, it immediately bowed and greeted in surprise. "Minister Shiyu, woo woo woo. Prime Minister Turtle, are there any geniuses in your longevity turtle race recently?" Shiyu smiled and took the faction booklet that included 11 turtles and 7 sea snakes. At the same time, he didn't forget to ask, Although there weren't many members of the Longevity Turtle, it should be the turtle race with the greatest power in Dragon Palace City. Its status was even above some pure-blooded dragons. How can those melons in our race dare to call themselves geniuses in front of Minister Shiyu? The Turtle Prime Minister said. I'm nothing. I was just lucky. Isn't there any relatively special member in the turtle race recently? Shiyu asked. In fact, it didn't matter if he was a genius or not. It didn't matter if he was a demigod or a god reincarnated. The most important thing was that he was special. At least, he had to have some shining points to contract him. The Turtle Prime Minister was stunned. It glanced at the Ice Dragon King, who was also thinking hard, and also thought for a moment. Then, it immediately said, speaking of which, recently, our Longevity Turtle race has indeed had a kid who became stronger quite quickly. He can be said to be a genius that's rarely seen in 100 years. It's just that. Shiyu said, it's what? The Turtle Prime Minister said, it was just a small accident. Its father used his connections to lock it in the 0.5th level of the underwater prison to reflect. It probably won't come out for 100 years. Shiyu was stunned. As expected of your Longevity Turtle. One level is 100 years. If this was a green silkworm, it would have long died 100 times. Buggy felt aggrieved. Did it provoke him? Did it do something wrong? Shiyu shook his head. If there was a problem with the turtle quality, forget it. The Turtle Prime Minister pondered and said, sort of. It fell in love a snake race. In the Longevity Turtle race, the mating of races is not allowed. What a sin.